Good morning and welcome to the AM show. We're coming to you live from our studio here in Kokomemle, broadcasting to the 16 regions on the Joy News channel, around the world on myjoyonline.com, on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 125. My name is Sweetie Abochi.
My name is Benjamin Akakpo. Let's get right into it. What can you expect from us this morning? We'll be serving you the news in a bit, followed by the news review. Two doctors join us. It's going to be not fire for fire, but doctor for doctor. Ikuya Mwako is with the MPP's Communications Directorate. Then we have the Cape Coast North legislator, Dr. Kwabena Menta Nyako. Both of them join us. After which we'll serve you sports with Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. And then we get into the big stories. What can you expect this morning?
Right. Remember that 7-member special committee set up by the directive of the Speaker of Parliament, Albert Bagbin, to investigate recent chaos at the Appointment Committee. Now, they are set to start their public hearings to uncover the truth behind the violent incident on Thursday. That is on January 30th. But the Speaker, Alban Bagbin, has come under some strong criticism from the NPP, describing his actions as dangerous and autocratic. But the question is, why a public hearing? And should that be the way forward? We'll discuss this and other related matters right here on the AM show. You are invited to join us with your comments and your thoughts across all social media platforms. We are Joy News on TV.
Well, you want to stay with us. Up next, both of us, starting with Sweetie, will serve you the news. Stick and stay. We'll be right back.
Hello, welcome aboard. This is the AM News Bulletin on the AM show. Let's begin with the West African Examination Council because they filed a stay of execution following a High Court ruling that ordered the immediate release of withheld results for candidates who sat the 2024 West African Senior Secondary Certificate Examination, that's WASSCE. Now, the court ruled that WAEC had failed to specify the alleged malpractices or examination irregularities that led to the withholding of the results. The decision came after 4 students representing 10,520 affected candidates filed an application on Thursday, January 30th, seeking an order for WAEC to release their results. With WAEC's latest legal move, the fate of the affected students remains uncertain as they await the court's decision on the stay of execution. Here's more.
Been a court case and there's been a ruling which we have filed a stay of execution pending appeal. Now we are yet to get a typed out copy of the ruling so that we can actually study it as lawyers and then respond as appropriate. The court makes a ruling based on the facts as the court perceives before it. Okay, and as we are aware, courts are human institutions. They make rulings, and they can really look at their own rulings. It's an issue of perhaps WAEC clarifying further what the position is and urging on the court to take a second look at its ruling. We are having people finishing degrees, masters, and I dare say, with some reputation, PhD, who are not worth their salt. I think that WAEC is only making a contribution to ensuring that we keep the gate so that we don't have people going through to become lawyers, doctors, even there's maybe judges and so on and so forth, who have not gone through the rigor of study. I think we should be very careful as a nation. So I admit that, yes, we can, the situation can improve further. But that is a call for more resources, human resources, other resources. So WAEC can do the work on all of us our behalf. We should not forget, all of us our behalf. If we feel as a nation that we should let people go, mass of people go who have cheated, well, let's say so. But we should remember, whatever we sow, we will reap.
That was Reverend Victor Brew, the head of legal affairs for WAEC. But meanwhile, lawyer of the applicants, Martin Kpebu, has expressed disappointment in WAEC's decision to file a stay of execution.
Naturally, I'm disappointed that WAEC is dragging this matter because, as we speak now, the University of Ghana and then I think KNUST, they have closed their portals. What I mean is that any further delay in the release of the results will result in the affected candidates not being able to enroll in those particular universities this academic year. So this is a matter that is very, very serious. It's causing a lot of trauma, anxiety, depression, etc. to these affected candidates and their parents and well-wishers. So I was hoping that WAEC would release these results quickly so that these students can, apply at least the rest of the universities and then try to move on, in terms of their educational career.
Students of Kumasi Technical Institute and Kumasi Anglican Senior High School in the Ashanti region have clashed, leading to vandalism of property on both campuses. In a violent reprisal, the rampaging students bent car ties and hurled stones and other objects. More in this report by Joseph Obeng.
The students destroyed 4 private vehicles on the campus of Kumasi Anglican Secondary School, school gates, as well as billboard and notice board at the Kumasi Technical Institute. Principal of KTI, Gabriel Kingsford Osei, alleged students of Kumasi Anglican started attacking KTI with stones and machete to vandalize their school billboard Thursday night. But
I got the information after the incident that KTI and CAS students are throwing stones against each other by the roadside. There's a main road of which KTI fence wall and that of the CAS fence wall. So the main Amakum road, Yasantua road, they were throwing stones against each other. And I got the message after the incidents around 11:30 p.m. that I got the message. So the next morning, we gathered the students and talked to them, not knowing that next morning was Thursday. So they went to stadium, and because of the interco, of which our students are not part. KTI students are not part of the interco because it's for senior high schools, not TVET. CAS students were on the street striking cutlasses, machetes, let me put it that way, throwing stones. But I pushed my students to the dormitory, and after I pushed them back, I went out to talk to CAS students. They didn't mind me, so I entered because they don't know me actually. So, and the way I appeared to them, they might not have any listening. So I told them, and in their midst was a security staff with a catapult leading them to cause destruction from CAS. So I went into their campus and I met the senior housemaster, the chaplain, the SRC. I met them and we were there. The vice assistant head were there. So we were all trying to. So we made sure that we calm nerves in there. So when I went into their premises and they were still doing it, the KTI students also came out to face them. And that was where it began, on Thursday.
The tutor at Kumasi Anglican Secondary School, Reverend Father Kenneth Collins Owusu, says the clash could be a fallout from arguments at the ongoing inter-schools athletics event in Kumasi.
We have always had little issues with them here and there, but because they are not in our category of academics, normally it's only the interco and superzonal. Sometimes we think that they are entitled to protect cars, and then they think that, oh, okay, so they can have access to our girls. And sometimes if either a cadet or a cars boy stops them from doing an act, then they get provoked and then they call for backup to just come and teach us a lesson. Just that. And I think that it's a myopic thinking at that level.
The Ashanti Regional Education Directorate has since invited authorities of both schools to find a lasting solution to the situation. The police intervened to bring the situation under control, but no arrest has since been made as investigations continue. Joseph Obin's report for Joy News.
Now, let me take you back to Parliament because the minority say they have escalated their concerns regarding the decision by Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin to suspend 3 of its members to the National Party and will fight to the end. Majority Chief Whip Frank Annoh-Dompreh, one of his deputies, Jerry Ahmed Shaib, and Hassan Tampuli have been suspended for 2 weeks for their role in that disorderly conduct witnessed at the Appointment Committee on Thursday, January 30th. Addressing a news conference in Parliament, Minority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin said the NPP takes a strong exception to the Speaker's decision and will fight it. Parliamentary Affairs Correspondent Kweku Asante reports.
The New Patriotic Party national leadership were in attendance at this news conference led by the national chairman himself to press home the demand that Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin rescinds that decision to suspend 4 members of Parliament, 3 of them who are members of the New Patriotic Party. According to Minority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin, the Speaker has acted in flagrant breach of the rights of their members of Parliament as well as the standing orders of Parliament.
He now says that he has, on his own, suspended these members without hearing them. The chair of the committee did not communicate anything to the Speaker. Neither did the Speaker invite any of us in leadership for any discussion. In any event, even where there is punishment, our rules are clear. It can be for 4 days, 8 days, or 12 days according to Order 130.
Alexander Afenyo-Markin says they've escalated this issue to their national party leadership, who are in full support of the decisions they are taking.
We have also taken the matter up. We have escalated the matter to our party level. MPP Minority Caucus is a wing of the MPP in Parliament. So we have also communicated this matter to party headquarters. The national chairman, the general secretary, and the national executives have become aware of this, and they take the matter seriously. They are not taking it lightly at all.
According to Alexander Afenyo-Markin, the party tried on several occasions over the weekend to meet the Speaker of Parliament and discuss with him their concerns, but were not successful and are looking forward to meeting him today to ventilate their concerns. The NPP say they consider the vetting that was done on Friday after they had recused themselves as a complete nullity. You will recall that 12 persons were vetted on Friday, apart from Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, the Minister Designate for Foreign Affairs. The 11 other persons were vetted without the participation of the NPP minority, and they say they view that as a nullity.
That was an illegality. They defied Mr. Speaker, even though Mr. Speaker said we should stop proceedings and reconstitute the committee. So it's illegal. It's a nullity. It's odious. We cannot be part of it, and we'll make our position known on the House floor. To court the last time because all doors for engagement were shut. On this occasion, the doors of engagement have not been shut yet.
It is not clear yet if Alban Bagbin is going to grant audience to the minority and NPP leadership to discuss their concerns, but we look forward to formally hearing from them in terms of what specific steps they are going to take going forward now that the decisions have been taken and have already taken effect. In attendance today at this news conference were 3 of these 4 MPs who have been suspended: Hassan Tampuli, Jerry Ahmed Shaib, and Frank Annoh-Dompreh, who are still attending to Parliament and doing other things, despite the clear directives of Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin that they are suspended from performing any parliamentary responsibilities for the next 2 weeks. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
Meanwhile, the chairman of the committee investigating the chaos at the vetting of ministerial nominees, Emmanuel Bedzra, has assured that the probe is not aimed at unfairly targeting any member of parliament. He also announced the committee will hold public hearings from Wednesday. Here's more.
The committee wishes to announce that we have decided to hold a public hearing of all the issues starting from Wednesday here in Parliament House at 10 a.m. prompt. We shall expect members of Parliament, the media, the guests who were present at the vetting room, as well as members of the general public, to voluntarily appear to assist the committee with the relevant information on the incident. The committee has created a digital platform, a WhatsApp platform, where we shall receive multimedia evidence, including videos, audios, and text to facilitate a speedy execution of the committee's tasks. The committee has decided that we will solicit the service of a forensic expert from the Ghana Police Service to assist with the authentication and analysis and validation of any multimedia evidence that will be received from the witness. Starting from this morning or this afternoon, we will start viewing some of the video evidences that Parliament has. The committee would like to place on record that it is not part of its job to target or witch hunt anyone. And I want to repeat it. We are not here to witch hunt any of our colleagues or members of Parliament. This work is to look for evidence of any member of Parliament who may have flouted the rules of engagement in this House.
Away from Parliament, the Environmental Protection Authority has moved to halt mining operations along the tributaries of the Ofin River at Pasoro in the Ashanti region. The EPA has observed most of the illegal miners have failed to halt activities near river bodies, which is a part of efforts to reclaim river bodies affected by illegal mining. Chief Executive Officer Professor Nana Brown Kluche reveals the EPA will ensure mining along river bodies are stopped to restore the sanctity of water bodies. Nana Aljima has more.
The EPA issued a directive last month ordering the cessation of all mining activities within and along water bodies. It further indicated preparedness to seize and prosecute persons acting contrary to the directive. Checks by the EPA revealed persons perpetrating the illegality at Pasoro tributary of the Ofin River continued to mine despite the order. Though the miners were absent at the time of the visit, 3 excavators and other equipment used in the mining operations were mounted at the site. According to experts, the pit is newly dug for the mining activities. CEO of the EPA, Professor Nana Brown Kluche, expressed disappointment at the spate of destruction.
When we came, we didn't find the miners on ground, but we have seen the level of destruction that has happened here. We've seen also not just the gold mine, there's also sand winning in this area. There's a lot at stake. So you can see the pit behind me. This pit, we need to reclaim the land. We need to rehabilitate the water. We looked at the water, the color of the water. You see a clear pollution of the water. We are here. We have seen it with our naked eyes for the first time. This is my first visit since I took office, and it's pathetic. I'll plead with the communities and their elders, the chiefs, to come in, step in this.
Continuous mining in the river bodies has resulted in the destruction of some water bodies in the country. To the EPA, restoration of the river bodies remain a priority.
So our first focus has been on the water bodies because it is pathetic. We can't do without water. If our river bodies are all getting polluted and taps are not having water running through them, it's an emergency we need to tackle immediately. So that is where we started from.
Meanwhile, the tributary of the Ofin River is also affected by illegal sand winning. Huge acres of land are destroyed by the winners. Professor Kluche reviewed the area will come under regulation.
EPA still regulates the sand winning or sand mining activities. So we just need to ensure that the miners of the sand have the right permit to do what they do. It is EPA's mandate to regulate that as well. Of course, they also go through the Minerals Commission for some licenses and access and all of that. We also want to plead with all the other agencies that are involved in such mining activities, providing the licenses and regulation to also up their game.
For Joy News, Nana Yochima, Kumasi.
Moving on, the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Professor Samuel Kaba Akorie, is urging major stakeholders to collaborate in preventing a potential surge in cholera cases across the country. He made this call during a recent visit to Cape Coast, where he assessed the ongoing cholera situation in the central region. Notably, 20 out of the 22 districts in the region have reported cases of the disease. Our regional correspondent, Eric Asante, has more.
Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Professor Samuel Kaba Akorie's visit to the central region comes as cholera cases in the region continues to pose a significant public health threat. The regional directorate had raised an urgent alert over a potential surge as inconsistent water supply continues to affect some communities in the municipality. The acting Central Regional Health Director, Dr. Agnes Anani, briefed stakeholders on the current situation in the region.
2025, as we speak or as we meet today, Ewutu Senya, Asin North, Aguna East, Upper Dentra West, and Gomoa East, even though the recorded cases in 2024, that is October and November, currently with this outbreak that we are having, they are not part. But we have a Kumfi and Esikuma Odobin Brakwa. They are reporting cases in this year. So far, we've had a total admission of 1,592, and we've made a total discharges of 1,573. Our death stands at 14 people, and these deaths were recorded in Ewutu Senya East Municipality, where we had 8. And I must say that with these 8 was the early stages of cholera that we experienced within the district. And these cases, majority of them reported late.
Professor Akorie called for a collaborative effort to curb a possible surge in the central region and other places.
So we have no reason to tear ourselves apart, but we have all the reasons to come together, all the associations. This is the time we need to collaborate. This is the time we have to work together. Water, local government, sanitation, nurses, doctors, food sellers, our chiefs, our imams, everybody as one country. If we do that, we'll be able to eliminate cholera.
The acting regional coordinating director, Bless Kwamedake, acknowledged the importance of potable water in the fight against cholera.
We must ensure that food is prepared and handled safely. Public places are kept clean, and access to clean water is prioritized. I am confident that with our collective resolve, we can eradicate this outbreak and prevent future recurrences. It is imperative that each of us takes personal responsibility by practicing good hygiene, including the simple but life-saving habit of frequent hand washing under running water with soap. We must return to the times when regular hand washing was second nature, ensuring that we protect ourselves and those around us.
The non-governmental organization Virtue Foundation has donated medical equipment and consumables valued at over 3,000 Ghana cedis to the Upper West Regional Hospital. Member of Parliament for Sisala East and Country Director for Virtue Foundation, Mohamed Issa Bataglia, who presented the items on behalf of the organization, said the donation aims to improve healthcare delivery in the Upper West region. Joy News Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from Wa.
In a brief remark shortly after receiving the items, Medical Director of the Upper West Regional Hospital, Dr. Robert Amesier, poured laudations and encomiums on the commitment of the donor, Virtue Foundation, to the hospital, which he described as heartwarming.
This is not the first time we are receiving donations from Virtue Foundation. And I think that commitment from the foundation to see to it that the gaps that they detect in our hospital are filled is very heartwarming. These items will be put to good use. We'll make sure that this machine is well maintained so that people will benefit from it.
Member of Parliament for Sosala East, Mohamed Issa Batagalia, who doubles as the country director for Virtue Foundation, presented the items on behalf of the foundation.
And being a constant partner, Virtue Foundation have decided to partner with them in very little ways to improve health delivery. I think last year we were here, and during the process we've also identified some gaps, knowing also very well that the regional hospital is a hub for the region where most referrals are done. I, being the MP for Sosala East, I know most of my people, when they are in serious cases, they are referred here. So equipping the regional hospital is only a means to make sure that you alleviate our suffering as a region, and that should be our focal point. It's been tested and proven in the past that anything you give to the regional hospital under the tutelage of Dr. Robert Amesia has been put to good use, and the ordinary person, the ordinary Ghanaian, benefits from that.
Virtue Foundation will on Sunday repeat the donation in the Sosala East Municipal Hospital, where he will donate over 400,000 Ghana cedis worth of medical equipment, medical and non-medical consumables. Reporting for J News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
From WA, let's get into our business update now with Benjamin Akakpo.
Thank you for permitting me to serve you business this morning, and we kickstart affairs with our currency market. Our apologies for the little mix-up there. Let's get into the stories now. An economist, Professor Peter Quartey, is calling for more investments in large-scale commercial farming to drive change in the agricultural value chain. He believes the over-reliance of rain-fed agriculture will not be sufficient to tackle food inflation. Now, his comment comes on the back of the marginal decline in the rate of inflation for the month of January 2025 of 23.5. Speaking to Joy Business, Professor Quartey said irrigated agriculture was the way to go in reducing inflation.
Food inflation, as we've seen, it's one of the major drivers because of drought, because of our reliance on rain-fed agriculture. And we've seen some limited rainfall in the past couple of months, and therefore that is what is driving the food inflation. But what is more worrying is the fact for food inflation in the regions where you expect food production is their main activity, their mainstay, yet they are recording very high inflation in northern parts of the countries, for instance, and you find inflation about 50% in some of these countries. That is quite worrying. But having said that, I think given that in a post-election year, we see a lot of high rate of inflation recorded, and for the first time, there's a marginal decline in inflation. That it is good, but we have to work on food inflation. We need to move from reliance on rain-fed agriculture and do more of irrigated agriculture.
Well, let's head into our commodities exchange now. Business is done and dusted. Handing over back to Sweetie Abochi.
Thank you, Ben, for serving as business. Let's get ready for our news review segment. And Dr. Ekuya Mwako from the NPP Communications Directorate and Dr. Kwabena Mintanyako, Member of Parliament for Cape Coast North. They're joining us to review the newspapers. Please stay. We'll be right back.
Thank you for choosing us. Thank you for staying with us for the news review. And joining us this morning, we have Dr. Ekuya Mwako. She's with the NPP's Communications Directorate. We also have Dr. Kwabena Mintanyako. He's Member of Parliament for Cape Coast North. Both of them join Sweetie and me. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I see your... Are you a Togbi in disguise?
No, I'm not. I just love beads.
You just love beads, eh? I love beads too. It's been a while since I rocked any of them.
All right. And, you should patronize Made in Ghana goods.
Oh, yes, yes, I do. I have a lot of them.
Those are not beads? What's on your wrist? The black one. They're not beads? I always thought they were.
They are pearls.
Oh,
Anyway, Doc?
Hi.
I don't know what you are rocking that I'll use to do agenda this morning.
Don't worry. Next week I'll give you something to talk about.
Next week you'll give me something.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's get into your quick thoughts, and then we'll head right into the papers. Sweetie will lead us from there. But Dr. Nyako, what are your thoughts for us this morning?
Well, thank you, and then thank you for having me.
Okay. So we're not getting into the papers yet. This is the 1 minute.
Yes. I just want to talk about things that are happening in Parliament a bit, especially with the chaos that have been happening in there, and then people criticizing the Speaker for cracking the whip, and also the first Deputy Speaker going on air to talk about the fact that the Minority Leader has been making a lot of utterances, which in his opinion is not appropriate. And then if he continues to do so, you send him to the Privileges Committee. I think these are things that we need to be addressing as we get along, and then see the behavior of members of Parliament, so they don't disrupt the integrity that that particular arm holds.
I see. You say that the Speaker is cracking the whip. The question is whether he is doing so legitimately. We've had conversations on that from different sides. John Darko of the NPP side, and then Inusaf Hussaini from the other side. But Bernard Ahiafo says that he thinks the Minority Leader still thinks he's a majority leader.
It appears so.
Jabs flying everywhere.
I think he just loves to be at the media space, in my opinion. He just loves to rant for no apparent reason, in my opinion. I think there are so many things that he's been saying that are not really backed by evidence, especially the one that he said about Ablakwa, regarding the fact that he had to smuggle his way through to be vetted. That wasn't true. The second bit, talking about issues of the regional minister, the Greater Accra regional minister, that he had to receive calls from people to be able to ensure that he is not really interrogated at the vetting. Where are the proof, evidence?
Well, it's, I guess, the game you politicians play. I saw a Blackwa post yesterday, but let's leave it there.
Yeah, it's very interesting that now you're asking for proof. So then, in the same vein, where's the proof that the Minority Leader, Honorable Afenyo-Markin, has been making comments? Where is the proof that the Speaker, where's the evidence that the Speaker used to suspend if we are now talking about proof and then the rule of law and the way things should be done, then it should cut across, isn't it? And I honestly don't agree with you with a lot of the things you said about the Honorable Minority Leader. I think he's very much aware that now we're in the minority, and he's very much aware that his position now is to basically guard what's good for Ghanaians. So I think that's exactly what he's doing. And so if allegations are being thrown around, the least we can do is to back these allegations with some evidence. Yeah, I think I'll leave that there.
Okay.
No worries.
Yeah. Short and brief. Let's start with the Ghanaian Times newspaper. On the headlines, at Ghana Investment Trade Week launch, commit political will to Estate Sector Core Construction Group Chair to the government. NTC Sierra Leone High Commission to collaborate to fight fake news. GFA commences investigation into Nswatri incident, and 2 friends get 20 years over illegal possession of guns theft. I'll quickly run through, and then I'll only pick 2 stories for us to discuss. Those who plundered Africa must go beyond symbolic gestures, Togolese envoy says. Minority accuses Speaker of overstepping boundaries. You just gave us a bite into that. Parliamentary probe into vetting chaos assures fairness, transparency, Mr. Emmanuel Kwesi-Bedzrah said, and actually we brought to you what he said in the AM News Bulletin this morning. Santorini shuts schools as tremors rattle Greek island. If you're planning to go to Santorini, please take note. And NTC Sierra Leone Embassy to collaborate to fight fake news. But I want to focus on the fire that gutted somewhere in Kumasi. That and one more story. Yeah. Fire guts Kumasi Swami garages. So fire has gutted a section of Swami garages in Kumasi of the Ashanti region, leaving several spare parts dealers and artisans in a big loss. This is one of many incidents of fire that we've been hearing of. I'll come to you in a bit. Let me just add one more story to it, and then we are good to go. Bank of Ghana commends Dr. Addison for meritorious service. The Bank of Ghana has commended the governor, Dr. Ernest Addison, for his meritorious and dedicated service to the bank and country. That's a statement issued by the Bank of Ghana in Accra and copied to the media, which said effective yesterday, Dr. Addison started his terminal leave ahead of his retirement from the bank. Doctors, let me start with the lady doctor.
Interesting.
Reflections.
I think 2 things jumped at me. The Nswatri mine incidents, which must be condemned, and condolences to the entire Fabulous family, and especially to the family of the gentleman that lost his life. I don't think anyone should seek entertainment by going to watch soccer, football, and then lose their life. It's just something that must be condemned. And I hear some arrests have been made. Yes. So I hope the police are able to handle this efficiently and quickly as well, so that it can come to an end. Yeah.
Doc?
Yes, I support her view. I'm also of the opinion that it has become too many, that every time you're having anything to do with sports, we get to the extreme where people lose their lives. It's about time that the security services also up their game, especially at those recreational centers when these games are being held. First of all, I also want to extend my condolences to the family of the deceased, and then we hope that the sports ministry and then the security services will up their game in making sure that the investigation will be done as soon as possible, so that we'll be able to know exactly what happened, and then the subsequent strategies we need to put in place to ensure that that will not happen in subsequent games.
Okay. Well, commending the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I guess those are his colleagues commending him, isn't it? So definitely, they have worked with him over the years, and so they will be best placed to testify to his competence and his acts. So yeah, I think this morning I will personally join them. We've gone through a very rough period, and his stewardship has obviously been very key to sustaining us thus far. There was also an issue about Swami, another fire, yes. And I think it's now becoming a problem that we should look at, because now I'm finding it very hard to believe that all of it is arson. There has to be something else that is powering these rampant fire outages around, and it's high time we sit up and look at it. Yeah, and I hope the government is paying attention to that, because I mean it's not even limited to one place. It's not as if it's happening just in Accra. I think there was some in the western region or central region, now Kumasi. So what is happening? Is it something about our climate? Are we having a drier weather? What can we do to mitigate these fires? Because at every incident, a lot of people lose their livelihoods. It's definitely something that is touching. So I think that's something that requires some more attention.
We do know, though, that the president gave a directive that they should station fire attendants at various, the big markets, and also security should be parading at night, so that if it is arson, we can catch the perpetrators in the action. Yeah. So that I know is something they're doing about the fires when it comes to the big markets we have in the country. But let me give the nod to you, Dr. Nyako.
Yes, I think I support that assertion by the government. The only issue is about implementation. I think it's far too long that these things have been absent from our markets. And as we can see, there's a trend that is coming up almost every year after elections. You realize that these things keep on coming or happening. And it's about time we see what is really causing these effects, and then we'll be able to find ways and ensure that we stop these things.
All right, let's do some other stories then. Ben? Or?
Well, quick reaction though to the fire bit. Even as we look for arsonists, maybe we should also we might as well start targeting those who take gas cylinders to the markets, those with illegal electricity connections and all of that. They are not supposed to be doing that. And when it's not arson, it usually tends to be one of these that is at fault. So if we're going to deal with the menace, we probably should be. I don't know whether we don't need a task force or something, because the market queens will often tell you, we give the directives, don't do this, but people will smuggle these bits in. I remember when I came, when I joined the multimedia group, the very first bit I went and covered was at Odona, and whole place burnt. In fact, we risked it because there was this little stall. I remember like it was yesterday. And in there, guess what we saw? A gas cylinder. I mean, we took a risk in filming it because it could have exploded. But it was right there before us. Yeah. And it hadn't exploded in the fire, which meant that it could have sparked a second fire and all of that. And we have all of these there. So I think there are other things as well.
After every incident, we have this conversation. But as you're saying, I think compliance is the issue.
Well, let's get into the Daily Graphic now. We must collaborate to rid Accra of filth, Greater Accra Regional Minister. And this problem is becoming like a hydra-headed dragon of sorts. After to launch transit scheme on Abidjan-Lagos corridor and Swatriman owner arrested, that has been looked at. Teacher trainee allowance to go. Government pledges enhanced student loan scheme, and that's the education minister hinting. On the back page, Ghana's space project under threat. Encroachers grab more than 80% of land, and don't keep LPG cylinders indoors, NPA urges public. So I'll do the stories two at a go, and I'll start from the back page. Consumers have been cautioned not to keep their liquefied petroleum gas cylinders indoors, as the practice is extremely dangerous. That practice poses a high risk and threat, as in case of leakage, the naked eye cannot see gas, hence the need to keep cylinders outside to avert fire outbreaks. The head of consumer services at the NPA, Eunice Budunyako, who made the call, was speaking during interactions with traders, market women, artisans and hawkers, among others, on LPG safety. It goes on and on, but just yesterday, I was talking about this issue, and my cylinders are outside. You do this, and I was saying something yesterday that some found surprising. If you switch on the light in your kitchen and there's a gas leak, it could lead to an explosion. It's not just a naked flame or something of the sort, so we really have to be careful. The Ghana Radio Astronomy Observatory project, situated at Kuntuse in the Greater Accra region, to enable scientists from around the world to view and study the universe from within the country, is under threat from encroachers, limiting the range at which the telescopes can capture images and share with the world. The 163-acre land acquired by the state in 1979 through an executive instrument has now been reduced to 30 acres. Look at that, 163 acres. That means 133 acres have been encroached upon. Has now been reduced to 30 acres with threats from indigents to invade the main facility. I want us to reflect on these two stories for now. This bit about encroachment, I don't know, even government lands, a little space, and I don't know how our country works, but quick reactions. I'll start with you. I see you.
So I think if we are going to be honest about the situation and try to look at it objectively without political colors, we will see that it's more of like a gentrification that's going on.
Gentrification?
Yes, the private developers are getting very, can I say aggressive? Because there are a lot of accusations of state capture or whatnot. But when you actually go down to look at it, what you see is more often than not, there are private developers who are seeking to acquire the land under the guise of some political access. So
I was just about to add.
Yeah. No, under the guise of, I mean, obviously, most times the private developers are even trying to acquire these lands for themselves, but then they seek to induce some political actors to benefit them. So till we look at it holistically and actually go to the source, why are we now deciding to cede some of these lands to the private developers for development, or do we want to maintain the, should I say, historicity of those places? That's a very important conversation.
But if you look at this story, it points at more like ordinary Ghanaians encroaching upon the land.
Exactly.
Because, you know, technically, even in law, if you have land, you've not developed it for a while,
People
you get squatters, and they are there for a certain length of time, you take no actions, you lose certain rights, and if you go to court, even in basic law, that is there. So, but this is government land. It's a different matter altogether.
Exactly, and that's probably another reason why it's probably been left in that state for so long. I don't know how much work has been going on with the, what's the name of the agency? Something about the space, yeah. I don't know how much activity is on that land, but I'm sure it's become an issue of squatters, private developers, a mix of all of that. And it never seems to be an issue that we are able to get to the bottom of, because it's more often than not, it's easier to just blame someone and just move on the next day to talk about something else. So I think if we want to look at this, there needs to be like a proper national dialogue on it, so, as to how we handle these issues.
Apparently, they have a wall which caters for 20 acres of the land, but you're looking at 163 acres. 20 acres will not help you. Doc?
Well, be held responsible. There's an agency that's supposed to be held responsible. Either the agency or the individual owners of the land, which is, in this case, a state land that is supposed to be supporting a particular...
the Ghana Radio Astronomy Observatory.
Exactly. So how can we have an agency responsible for that plot of land and allow itself for some people to squat on them?
But Doc, I have an interesting question for you. In the past, we've seen even parks and gardens, like land that from Nkrumah was designated for parks in different parts of...
So whose responsibility is to ensure
being taken over by sometimes political actors?
Yeah, I think that was
where we have to crack the whip. These agencies are supposed to ensure that they protect the plots of land.
As for the
subsequent development,
I think the whip that will be cracked on Ghanaians, that must be a very big whip, because we always talk about cracking the whip, but nothing happens.
It is 100, and look at the number of plots they've lost.
163. They've lost 133.
Yeah.
It's left with 30.
That's it.
That's very little.
So someone is responsible. Who is the leader? Who is the manager? Who is the CEO responsible for ensuring that those plots of land are safe? If these ones are going out, then that means he's supposed to be held responsible.
And Sweetie, Doc and Doc, if the interesting bit is that if government, you see that whip you're talking about cracking, if government starts cracking that whip, then you see the reaction of ordinary Ghanaians. And hey, and we've built here, and it's like someone building on a waterway. We're very interesting people.
Yesterday, I listened to a report. I've forgotten who did that report. Fantastic report. And I think Linda Oklu, Greater Accra Regional Minister, was trying to get hawkers off the streets. And they're saying, we are women like you, have mercy on us. Where are we going to go? Everyone cannot go to the markets. We are here benefiting, pedestrian. And I'm thinking to myself, this person is trying to do a good thing, right? But where do we draw the line between the good thing and the right thing? Because I think the enemy of the good is not the bad, it's the right. Yeah. What you're doing is probably right, but is it good for the rest of us? Is it good for our country and where we hope to, get to? So these are all issues where we have to fight between doing what's good for our people, for our party sympathizers, for ordinary citizens, and doing what is right, because that's where or what propels us to our developmental goals.
I see you have some...
Yeah, I mean, for her, I think she has her work cut out for her, because if you've looked at what happens in the past, almost every, even sometimes the mayors of these big cities, Kumasi and Accra, I remember growing up, almost every time there's a change in mayor, he attempts to clean up the city and is met with so much backlash that some of them actually lose their jobs on the backs of these things. So it becomes a very dicey situation. People will literally threaten not to vote, and there's a lot of pressure that comes with it. So I'm very interested to see how she handles that. Most people just give up because it's safer to do that. But yeah, and then just a last bit on the land part. I just wanted to point out that it looks like there's a more general issue with these land issues in Accra. Like young people try to acquire land and then you realize you have to pay 3 other people for the same piece of land. So I think it's high time we look generally at our land system, because that also causes a lot of problems. It means when you are trying to build, you have to budget for maybe 2 or 3 times the cost of the land, because definitely somebody will come with some guards to chase you for some more money. It's something that needs to stop.
System,
Yeah.
Let me just run quickly through these and then we can make tracks. We have about 27 minutes to go. But we must collaborate to rid Accra of filth. Greater Accra Regional Minister says so, tied to some of the conversations we've had. But I know you're passionate about this story. Teacher trainee allowance to go. Government pledges enhanced student loan scheme, Education Minister hints. So the Minister of Education, Haruna Idrisu, has announced plans to transition teacher trainee allowances into an enhanced student loan scheme to allow students to cater for their own feeding and personal expenses. The minister explained that while the allowances would be maintained in the interim, the government intended to phase the allowance system out gradually. Quoting him, he says, "There is no way you should be feeding a student at the tertiary level. We can narrow feeding to basic and free senior high schools, but at the tertiary level, students should be able to take care of themselves. In the interim, we'll continue with the feeding allowances, but we'll transition to an enhanced student loan system." As I come to you for your thoughts, and I'll start with you, Dr. Nyarko, first. 2 things come to mind. One has to do with, you know, under the Nkrumah era, there was even, and I've been told stories of how at Commonwealth Hall, my former hall, they would serve them chicken and all kinds of things. We came and chatted. At our time, nothing like that. But at the same time, you look at the challenges that we've seen when it comes to the buffer stock company, when it comes to feeding, even for free SHS. And you ask yourself whether we should be taking this all the way through. Shouldn't we get the F-cube structures right from the basics before we pursue maybe higher levels? What do you think?
Yeah. You mentioned the era where our fathers were enjoying at the universities. My dad had 1 room to himself when he was at the university. Now,
the population was also very small.
Exactly, the population was also very small. Now that we have free SHS, we have the one of the 3 pillars that has been accomplished, which is accessibility. Our review that is built on 3 pillars. That is the accessibility, we have equity, and then we have quality. Now, we are looking at where our students will be able to have access to education. Once you have these teacher training allowances, then you are restricting access. That means you are going to use the quota system. The quota system will mean that some people will not be able to have access to teacher training education. And that is what this government is trying to put across. That in our bid to reduce the number of people not entering into the teacher training college will mean that the people will not be able to access the funds that are available. So instead of us bringing the funds available, which is the allowance, we rather want to take that out. Use that to rather build schools. So that once you are done with school or you are done with your nursing training, you should be able to go and get some job to do. And I think it's in the right direction. When I was in the uni, we all applied for student loans. Then you have to pay them off when you are done with school. And if you are able to go in that tangent, I'm sure many people will have access to education, and after school will be able to pay thereof.
But that's another problem, isn't it, Doc? Some people take the loans and
they
never pay back.
Yeah. I think on this note, it becomes again about campaign promises. Like, isn't it too early to be seen to be walking back on that? Because I do remember that it was part of your campaign that you would not cancel it because you felt you faced so much backlash the first time you tried to cancel it. So, I mean, that's my shock and surprise this morning.
There's the nursing trainee allowances,
and
the teacher trainee allowances. But he's saying that in the interim, it will stay. How long the interim is, we don't know.
No, but that's not what the people were sold. That's just to put that across. That's not what the people were sold. Number 2, the nursing trainee and allowances is what I would be a little more interested in because it's a little more nuanced. You know, the nurses do work while they are in school. The diploma nurses, they help around on the wards. So I think for that, their model should be looked at a little differently, even if we decide to have the conversation about cancelling it. But again, how much, I think we've looked at the budget that goes into this exercise before, and it's not such a huge figure such that removing it will be able to fill the infrastructural gap. So if this is what motivates people to go to teacher training school and nursing training, why scrap it?
I also want to believe.
Can I join in the conversation?
You go ahead.
Yeah. The issue is not about cancelling, and I think I need to make that clear. We are not cancelling the teacher allowance. We are rather moving it into the student loan scheme. So that's not a cancel. The point is everybody in the tertiary institution should be able to have access to funds. We don't want to give you allowances, then you'll not be able to have access to funds when you have to take allowance and still go in and study. So if that is the pool, everybody goes in there, get access whatever funds you have, and then once you are done with school, you'll be able to have some work to do.
Dr. Nyako,
yes, please.
The allowance means that while you're in school, you're getting some small monies
on
a regular basis.
Sure.
Cancellation means whatever repurposing is going on. Cancellation simply means that you will not be getting those small monies on a regular. So you cannot say that that does not mean they're not cancelling it.
Right.
And it's not everybody who will go for the loan, is it?
Exactly. So we have people, I was in the teacher training college. I never took any of the teacher, what we call it, when I came to the university, I never took any student loan. The reason was that I was on study leave, right? Okay. So while I was working as a teacher, I applied to go to the university. I was being paid whilst I was studying. So there was no need for me to go for the student loan. So you have students who will not be willing to even access the funds. Right. But make that funds available so that anyone that is interested in accessing it will just go and have it. But we are not saying that we are
Here's a quick thought that just came to mind. While I have some disagreements, I also see that, is it like the discussion we've been having about free SHS, that don't make it free for all, everybody, because some people may not necessarily need it, but others will critically need it. In streamlining it, that is where the devil is. I always say the devil is in the detail. And I also have a problem with how we are always tweaking different aspects of our education. Pre-Gaggersberg, we had a system of education that lasted for at least over a decade. And then we started touching it. And ever since we've started touching our education, there are so many problems. And the whole flip-flop, even when it comes to SHS 3 years, 4 years, and this and that. And I mean, whether we were doing O-levels, A-levels, it was clear. You know that you do 5 years of ordinary level, you do your advanced level, lower 6, upper 6, and you move. But now, but just a final bit there. When you talk of these things and these allowances, is it not a rational decision? Because you can look at subsidies. We always like subsidizing, but subsidizing has a cost. If you look at why we've ended up at the IMF that many times, sometimes it has to do with a lot of, we are subsidizing, and then it becomes an albatross around our necks, which is why under Rawlings, at a point we had to decide we are not subsidizing electricity.
The Nigerians dropped the fuel subsidy as well.
In fact, we still have the zero subsidy policy, right? Yeah. Under the IMF program, we cannot subsidize anything as we speak.
It looks like West Africa is moving away from the subsidies. But I mean, my last thoughts on this is, I mean, if you promise, you better keep to it.
No, but yes, so I pulled up what he said, because I was asking myself, why did I come here? So he said, we will keep the status quo for now, because under the student loan scheme, nurses do not qualify. Therefore, and I'm quoting John Mahama during the campaign time, therefore, we need to make some amendments before we can transition them to student loans. Yeah. So we will maintain the current system until we make the necessary changes to move everyone to a student loan system. And we are calling it the enhanced student loan because we need to increase the amounts to make it meaningful for students. And once a student gets a job, we must, have mechanisms to start deducting. So yes, exactly. He did say that they will maintain the status quo for now, just like Ben read, and then until there's such a time that they, put the systems in place.
So I think that the people that were on the grounds campaigning, there was probably a mix-up there. But again, the main issue is that when these things happen, enrollment usually drops because a lot of people are motivated to go the teacher route or the nursing route because they are motivated by these allowances.
Is that the way it should go?
No, but I mean,
you go because you genuinely have interest in caring for people.
Yeah, but we are looking at the real facts on the ground. We're looking at the real facts on the ground.
Not necessarily out of passion.
A lot of people finish secondary school, and because the finances of the family are not great, they opt to go into these models because at least you get some 300 pocket money. So it does drive a lot of the enrollment into these sectors. So if you take it away and then you replace it with a student loan, then are you going to ask them for a guarantor? Is it going to be a no guarantor system? Because the odds are the person who is going to these training institutions motivated by the allowances would not be able to provide a guarantor that is suitable. So those were the issues with cancelling these things. So I hope it's looked at before it can be implemented because it will affect the enrollment.
All right. Let me wrap with these stories. There will be no room for corruption at MMDAs. Ahmed Ibrahim says so. Lands Ministry to roll out measures to tackle Galamsey menace. Sweetie, we've been talking about Galamsey. It's good to see. He says, our collective objective must be to take urgent steps to halt illegal mining activities, restore our forest reserves, and create a mining path that will not destroy our water bodies. And we've seen a little bit of action in recent times, directives and all that. There's this story I wanted to just take a look at. It's an editorial. Our schools don't need bullies. And it's on the back of the latest Takraka incident with the student beating other students with a machete.
I think there's
Then Africa takes GDP recalculation campaign to G20. And finally, Trump's attack on South Africa exposes divisions over race and land. And South African President Cyril Ramaphosa defended his land reform policy on Monday against an attack by Donald Trump that laid bare deep divisions within South Africa over racial disparities in ownership, an issue festering since apartheid. Trust Donald Trump. Quick thoughts, Dr. Nyako. I'll start with you and then you have your reactions. We go back to...
Then why did you say it like that?
I'm
curious. Trust Trump,
Trust Trump to be divisive, controversial, everything in between.
Why do you
any
think
thoughts?
divisive?
I mean, I'm merely stating the obvious. When he said Haitians were eating...
Oh, they're eating the cats.
I mean, I could give you a tall list of divisive,
what if they were actually eating the cats, though?
No, you see...
What? I'm just... What if they were?
Listen.
What if it wasn't a lie?
There's some... I've actually done research into that. There's the voodoo element, supposedly... But even if it were true, it's not politically correct to
cover definitely.
That's my whole point.
Political correctness does not exist to Donald Trump. But this South African issue, it's, I think because of our colonial past, discussing it properly is a little problematic. Because should people also be losing their lands because of the color of their skin?
Right.
So it becomes, we feel some solidarity to our brothers and sisters of our race. But should they be just taking people's lands that they've had for a really long time? And does Donald Trump have the right to interfere with that process? It's very interesting to see that. I was looking for a tweet I saw on my way here from Cyril Ramaphosa, actually. When I find it, I'll go back to it again. I think something about he's actually going to continue with the land reclamation process. So it's going to be very interesting, that tussle between South Africa and the US.
Well, not all presidents are taking, everything that Trump is throwing at them lying down.
People are fighting
I know
back.
Canada, for one, said they're fighting back in the trade wars.
They recently conceded.
Tariffs. So for me, it makes for good TV.
Definitely. The political season this year has been very, very interesting.
And for an advanced democracy like America, I'm always watching out for what are the key learning moments, or what could we be maybe adopting, emulating, what is there to learn? Because where they are and where we are trying to get to, if we are picking some lessons from there, it will do us some good.
Sweetie, since you broached that subject, what do you think? In reason, certain grants, if I may call them, to countries like Ghana have been frozen.
Yes.
For now, every year we get about
HIV and AIDS and
we get about $130 million. This year in 2025, we were expecting to get $138 million. Yeah. It may look small on the state level, but it's a lot when you look at, like you said, dealing with HIV and AIDS, some FQ issues, mainly rural communities, and how they benefit from there. But I believe it's Uhuru Kenyatta. I saw a video. I don't know whether you've seen the video. Who says,
"Why are you crying?
Actually, why are you crying? They don't owe you anything." And to some extent, I agree. You know, the Burkinabe leader, though a coup maker, has said that, look, they've relied on France loans for 63 years. They've not developed.
Yeah.
So if the loans are taken away, it's not going to. So I think sometimes Africa has been spoiled. We have everything. And sometimes when you have everything, you fail to realize what you have. And you sit on it and you go begging someone who has practically nothing.
Yeah. I actually align with that trail of thought. Why are you crying if another democracy somewhere decides that they will not come to your aid?
Yeah.
You know, it's time to start looking within. You have so many resources. You know, add value. Do something for yourself.
I think
when we talk about self-reliance and republic, this is what it means. Fight for yourself within and be sustainable or sufficient, or whatever the word is.
I think the problem is the immediate shortfall that it's going to create.
Yeah.
Because nobody is prepared for that hole in the budget that has just happened of over $100 million. I think that's the problem. So I would have hoped my good friend Trump would have given us some time, but he doesn't seem interested.
I think it will come eventually.
Yeah, I do think that he's just looking to restructure USAID because there was some talk about them sending condoms to Hamas. I don't know. I mean,
well, let's get into your papers.
Yes. Okay.
Bullying. The bullying in schools.
Oh, the
balls,
bullying. Both stories are here, actually.
The bullying incident.
So this is the publisher, the new publisher, Akwesi Aka.
Are you getting into the bullying incident? Doc was mentioning that.
Oh, right.
You mentioned something about the bullying.
Yeah.
Yes. It's actually a story in there. So if you're going to do it, then you might as well do it.
Okay,
and then we'll get back
so let me do that first. We can talk and then I'll come back to the front page. So SHS war, students clash in Kumasi, vandalize school property. Students of Kumasi Technical Institute, KTI, and Kumasi Anglican Senior High School, KAS, in Ashanti region were involved in a violent clash which resulted in vandalism on both campuses. According to the reports, during the violent exchange, students set ties ablaze and hurled stones and objects at each other. The rampaging students damaged 4 private vehicles on the KAS campus, destroyed the school gate, and vandalized a billboard and notice board at KTI.
Right, yeah. That story was in our news bulletin this morning. There was a clash, but I thought you were
What's
going back
going
to
on?
Accra Academy.
Oh, so I don't have that in my
So
paper.
I believe this editorial was linked to that. But have you seen the video?
Of the was it the
So
guy
there's-
using the machete?
Yes.
Yes, I have.
And yesterday I was mentioning that even before that, I think sometime last year we had the Adisco incident where someone put another student in a chokehold.
Yeah, and there was even the stabbing of O'Reilly,
Yes.
right?
Yes. All of these incidents are happening.
Yeah.
And I mean, back in my day, there was bullying. Bullying has always been there. But this extent of bullying is a bit, I mean, to lash someone with a machete, anything could have happened. You miss the turn and it cuts the person, or you could disable someone for life.
But, Doc, you wanted to say something on that.
Yes, I think the whole educational system where the disciplinary action has been taken away from the teachers is also affecting all these things. Honestly, when we were in school, I was in Addis Ababa College, and then when we were there, anytime you hear any teacher coming by, you are really on your toes because you never know what they will do. This time they've asked that we shouldn't discipline our kids. No teacher will be willing to go there.
Use corporal punishment, not to discipline. I'm just.
What punishment have been going on in our schools? None.
Well, okay.
None, honestly. None. The kids walk around anytime. Even in Cape Coast, you see some of the kids walking in town. You ask them, where's your exit?
How dare you back then?
Hey.
Without an exit heading out. You go over.
And I think we all Cape Coast people, right?
I mean, sometimes you go, you would think you had made it through, accounts ahead. By the time you come back,
one of the teachers is waiting for you. They already know where you are going and at what point in time you'll return. So definitely someone will catch you. This time when they see you, when the teachers see you, they don't even ask you any questions. They ask you to go because they are scared to say anything, and then the authority will take them out.
What can we do at this point?
I think it's about time we review that and make sure discipline is. I mean, how can you raise a child without discipline? It's highly impossible.
But is discipline only, going back to what Sweetie said, because you also want children who can relate to their teachers. The fear factor must be minimized. I agree on the point of discipline. Right. Spare the rod, you will spoil the child. I agree with that. But you don't need to unnecessarily terrorize the child, create fear. And
during our time.
So
during our time, where our teachers doing that overly, they weren't doing that. It's only when you mess up, then they give you some strokes.
Some overdid it. I still remember some.
Yeah, I do like the strokes.
In my head.
I think it's, Dr. Kia, we'll come to you in a bit, but I think it's two extremes, right? Those days, what qualifies as corporal punishment, you know, teachers could lash you and you have blisters, you can't sit for days. Yes, we get the lesson, but at the end of the day, you've inflicted pain on me, you know? So I think the conversation started from reduce the, you know, the degree of pain you inflict on a child, you know, your efforts to discipline that child, and now we've moved to the other extreme where we just let them be. So it's, you know, it's a fine line. We have to really have to know how to walk.
I think they're trying to tailor the discussion or the argument towards only when they are meting punishment or doing that. There are other ways you could discipline a child.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be using like the one we do with ground students. You ask them to read. You ask them to go and clean the kitchen. You ask them to go and clean the dining room. You ask them to clean the dormitory. There are so many ways that you can punish them, not simply by just lashing them or beating them.
I see Doc has something against weeding. Which school did you attend?
Holy Child.
Holy
Oh, really?
So, you know they weed there.
What? Not really.
Girls' schools.
You could avoid it.
But you can scrub.
Yes, the scrubbing was a problem.
But I'm curious. Did you guys ever have any weeding experience? No.
I think most people did.
They did. Most people did.
Most people
I like
did.
the way you say most people did.
It was not bad.
I used to try my best to avoid the weeding, and just as everyone is, you couldn't even see the gate. So when your parents send you up the hill, the next time you see the gate is when you are vacating. So I don't know what's going on. Every time you turn on the news now, somebody is beating somebody, stabbing somebody. Children. Life hasn't even started, and what you want to do with your time is to beat each other. That's serious.
Let's move forward.
I think the social media is also influencing their.
Indeed, I agree with you.
Their behavior. And we need to also look at that in that context.
Well, some of them are doing things for money at this age, and you are asking yourself. But my last bit, a warning: we should look at where Western society has got to. We shouldn't underestimate these school shootings and all of those. That is where they have got to in the bid to not discipline children physically. I am not one for corporal punishment. I teach Sunday school. It's not necessary. There are ways of dealing with children. But there comes a time where you need to whip a child in line.
Yeah. The O'Reilly incident was terrible to watch. Anyway, let's finish with this. So back to the new publisher, Akwesi Aka reveals MP's balls squeezed in Parliament.
MP's what?
MP's balls squeezed in Parliament.
Is it which?
I'm sure we all heard
Which balls
that.
are we talking about?
Well, I had some time to breeze over the story.
In fact, I wish you can read the story, the details.
Yes,
Oh my God, sweetie! I thought we didn't have time. Okay.
Details, huh?
The mature testicles of a prominent member of parliament were grabbed without his consent and squeezed hard by another member of parliament. The recent chaos that broke out at the appointments committee, Honorable Alexander Akwesi Aka, MP for Achimota in the Eastern Region, has revealed. Mr. Akwesi Aka on Monday morning told Kwesi Parker Wilson, host of Oyerepa Breakfast Time, that he was a witness to the testicle squeezing, but the cameras could not capture that particular aspect of the drama. It sounds so like stranger than fiction.
I mean, when you look at the video, you see where Roxy was standing. It was nowhere close to where anybody could even have access to hold him in the first place. So I'm surprised about this story. I met him.
But
you know there was a point where he.
But were you there? Were you there
I was
in that material moment?
I met him. We sat to discuss the whole issue.
And there was no squeezing of any.
No way. He was the one rather talking to them to be able to calm down. So a lot of people are not even happy that they had to add him up with a suspension because he was not throwing tables. He was not pushing
but there was
tables.
that fisticuff.
Did you see him do that?
Oh,
I guess when the committee sits, then they will establish who wasn't, because I saw people too who were in that line but were not directly involved. In fact, I saw someone who when a table had been put, a chair had been put on the desk, the table, he actually took it down. So you may say he's involved, but what was he doing? He was not involved in the fracas.
That's why you need to give people the opportunity to explain themselves. You can't just level a suspension without investigating the issue properly, because you are definitely going to leave some issues on the table. You're going to miss some things. On that, I don't know, this is just really interesting. I guess
that'll be your last one, and then we can go to Dr. Nyako.
Yeah, I think, no, let him have it. It's still on the testicles matter. I think he was trying to give a description of who the MP is. So if...
I don't want to talk about this.
You want to identify the MP?
I'm very curious.
Roxanne Dafemiapo, he's a...
Oh, that's who he's talking about. Yes, yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Why does it make sense?
Wait.
No, because...
I'm going to ask the same question.
No, if I read it to you, you would understand. He said the person is from the Volta region. He loves to wear spectacles, has been consistent with his well-trimmed haircuts and dresses smart. He's not a first-time MP and belongs to the majority caucus. So I was just thinking...
Yeah, but there are many...
All morning. Yeah, exactly. I hadn't singled it down. Right, so I was just thinking, who could it be with all of this?
Yeah, but it didn't happen. Honestly.
Stranger than fiction.
Yeah,
let's
exactly.
cap it at
stranger than fiction.
Dr. Nyako, your newspaper.
Yes. This one talks about offensive youth threatening action over unresolved chieftaincy dispute. It talks about President Mahama backing APD. Victor Asare Bampo takes over from Da Costa Abuaje as NHIA CEO. NDC holds crucial NEC meeting Thursday amid appointment concerns. They talk about the exceptional track record of Dr. Siama, new BOG governor. He spoke about securing digital payments, the need for advanced security measures. And then another gentleman here, Koka, also talking about parliamentary chaos unacceptable, but suspension of MPs was a misstep. And then NPA warns public against keeping LPG cylinders indoors. And I think you mentioned this bulletin earlier. I wanted to find out, is there any designated distance that the gas is supposed to go away from the stove?
Or just outside?
Or just outside. Because I may have my stove right by the window, and the gas will be just outside.
Yeah, that's okay.
I guess...
In the open is the idea.
I guess... common sense should apply in, because mine is quite a distance from where the stove is behind and at the other end. But I guess the whole idea is distancing it so that in case of an explosion or something, you are not directly affected.
Okay.
But of course, we could interact with the relevant agencies.
Yeah, and
maybe there are...
I'm sure NPA has some guidelines.
Yeah, they should do. Victor Bampo takes over from Da Costa, NHIA. And I think 36-year-old teacher sentenced 10 years for stealing over 200,000 from bank.
How did he do that?
Yes, how did he do that? Trump threatens to cut funding for South Africa, I think, over land policy. I think we just mentioned that. And that's it. Stephen Appiah talks about Kudus. Right. Yes, just encouraging him against Chelsea game. That's it. And wife of a late Asante Kotoko supporters. That's I think that's it.
Wife of what?
We spoke about it earlier.
Wife of the late Asante Kotoko supporter, Polly Weeps, as she recalls last conversation with him.
Yeah.
Let me just sneak in this bit, something that escaped me. Page 18 of the Daily Graphic will not be part of approval process for last 10 ministerial nominees, Minority Leader declares.
Yes, I think they were...
Like it's war.
Doc will be very interested in this story.
No, I think some conditions were laid down. So
okay, can we hear that, please? Then we can.
If you watch the press conference, I think the Minority Caucus expressed displeasure with some of the things that were going on, like the clerk and the attitude of the clerk and whatnot. So I'm sure, of course, we are always available for a discussion to be able to come to an agreeable.
But do you think the attack on the clerk was appropriate?
I don't think the clerk refusing to invite the minority in for the vetting was appropriate.
Was appropriate?
I don't think her refusing to invite them in was appropriate.
But I think it's whether or not he thought that the minority, in fact, it didn't end there. Yesterday they had another press conference where he went on to talk about how she's partisan and she's biased.
Exactly.
And,
in the past, what she seemingly has done and what
we have to give some of our leaders some brief, because they definitely have There's a reason why they are saying this. If it was something that was petty, I don't think the Honorable Afenyomarkin would go on with that. Even if you watched his press conference, he even talked about WhatsApp statuses and things. And he has had to work with this woman as majority leader as well. When you hold certain positions, it falls on you to portray a certain kind of neutrality as a clerk. So they expect that from her. I don't think it's too much.
We have to get out of here. Maybe our politicians can take a cue from this quote in the Daily Graphic today. It says, winning or losing an election is less important than strengthening the country. Maybe both majority and minority can take a cue from that. It's by Indira Gandhi. It is what it is. Thank you for joining the conversation. We had Dr. Kwabena Mintah-Nyarko, Member of Parliament for Cape Coast North. We also had Dr. Ipia Amwako, a member of the MPP's communications team, joining us this morning. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
And have a wonderful day. That's how we cap it off. Stay with us. Sports is up next.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AM Sports here with me, Muftaro Nabila Abdullah. In the last 48 hours, it's been a conversation surrounding hooliganism that has, over the years, found its way into the very fiber of Ghana football. This menace, which has dominated the country's most loved sport, finally claimed the life of an individual. It is one area many people actually say that the leadership of Ghana Football Association have not dealt with so much. And it is the reason why we currently find ourselves here. And yesterday, the Ghana Police Service announced that former Employment and Labor Relations Minister, Ignatius Bafo-Ewuah, he's been arrested alongside 2 other people, and they are currently assisting the police with investigations. As of this morning, we are made to understand that it is unclear if they were granted bail, because as of 7 p.m. last night, they were still with the police at the Bono Anahafo Regional Police Headquarters. So currently, as we speak, it's unclear whether they've been granted a bail. But let's take a look at a report that was put together by my colleague, Musbao, and then we'll come back and have a conversation. I'll be joined this morning by a FIFA and CAF security officer, as well as a colleague journalist, a football administrator, and a former player who has plied his trade in the Ghana Premier League before. But before that, let's take a listen to this report.
According to the police, the suspects who have since been arrested include owner of Nsoatreman FC and former MP and Minister of Employment and Labor Relations Ignatius Bafo-Ewuah and Agyemang Owusu, along with Treme Joseph. The 3 are currently in police custody, assisting with investigations. According to the police, a search of Agyemang Owusu's residence led to the discovery of 2 dresses with suspected blood stains, an MP-23 pistol loaded with 15 rounds of ammunition. Meanwhile, to ensure a swift and comprehensive probe, a special team from the Criminal Investigation Department headquarters has been deployed to support the Bono Regional Police Command in its investigations. The Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufo-Dampare, has since personally reached out to the bereaved family and the leadership of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, offering condolences on behalf of the police service while assuring them of a thorough investigation to bring the perpetrators to justice. The Ghana Football Association, on the other hand, has charged Nsoatreman for breach of its regulations and also placed an indefinite ban on the park. The association has further called for an emergency meeting with all chief executive officers of the Ghana Football Association slated for Thursday at the association's head office. Also, the association has suspended the match week 20 fixtures, which were slated to come off this weekend.
Let me go on the phone now and speak to Augustine Ahimfo, a former striker of Ghana's Black Stars, a former player, someone who, in fact, when he was on Prime Take recently, he took us through his journey to playing at the highest level. And it actually started here in Ghana. This very product sold him to the world. But his image currently has been muddied. It's so solid to the extent that many people do not want to associate themselves with this brand. And Collins Atapoko, who is a colleague journalist, has also joined us. But Augustine Ahemfo, thank you very much for your time this morning. Sorry, I am denying you your work this very morning, but I appreciate that you've decided to speak to me on this. How did we get here? Because over the years, in fact, I remember listening to the former PLB chairman in the person of I've forgotten his name like that. He actually was telling me that when he went to this venue in Tamale, the Caladam Park, they were beaten to pulp. And this clearly suggests that over the years, hooliganism has been in Ghana football and is still there. Why do we continue to have hooliganism in the game? It appears Augustine Ahemfo has gone off the line. But let me bring Atapoko into this. Atapoko, you have covered many venues, especially in the Bono area. Why do we continue to have issues of hooliganism when there's a certain history that suggests that this menace has been with us for a very long time?
Very much for having me, Muftau. Like, straight away, it's a hotbed for our football. And then it has most of the Premier League clubs currently per region. So it's not difficult finding these incidents there because of the frequency with which games are played in that region. But the education has actually not gone down well over the years. And it's one thing everybody involved in football in the region has failed to do. It is 3 points or nothing. At all costs, you must get it. And it's one of the very things that has fueled this kind of behavior over the years. Now, let's restrict it to Insuatreman themselves and look at something. They were charged in January when they played against Mediama SC. And just now, this has happened. So it's not like we've not actually heard about this or seen it before. Let's rule it to when they were in the same zone with RTU and Zone 1 was played all and had not been divided then. We had to plead with RTU players, to plead with their fans, to stop them from assaulting Insuatreman players when they came over to play against Bewa United because they had beaten players of RTU to pulp when they had come to play them in Insuatre. So it's not a first time, and it's certainly not going to be the last time. But the most important thing is that everybody involved in football in the region must take responsibility for this and then begin to work in such a manner to disabuse the minds of fans that is not 3 points at all costs. Let's spill blood to get what we want on a day.
Let me bring Nick into the conversation. Nick Owusu is a CAF and FIFA security expert. Nick, when we go to match venues, you lead in this area of ensuring that everyone who comes to the venue is safe. Why do we continue to have hooliganism in our stadia? Is it that the security we have in this country are not fit for purpose?
Yeah, thank you so much. I wouldn't say that they're not fit for purpose. I would rather say that there are certain steps that needs to be taken as a country, and then we are not taking those steps.
What are those steps?
This problem has been there globally in global football for a long time, and I think for over 30 years, FIFA and CAF had found a solution to this, and then they've implemented it. And as a result of those implementations, you hardly hear some of these incidents happening in recent times, as they frequently used to happen some years back. And that has to do with the training and deployment of safety and security coordinators for our matches. If you look at Ghana, our Premier League is the flagship product that we have as a country. And then as a product of the FA, on any given weekend, there are no more than 8 Premier League matches going on or 10 going on around the country. So there's a need to employ the same tactics that FIFA and CAF have been using to take care of this situation. If you typically have a safety and security coordinator on grounds who will usually go there 2-3 days before the match. This person would have intelligence on the sensitive nature of the match, would coordinate with the ground police officers. If the person looks at the environment and feels that there is a need for reinforcement, all these arrangements will be done. There will be escorts for the team that are coming. You're going to plan a safe passage for the team. You're going to ensure that the stadium, which is the infrastructure that the match will be played, will be in good shape. There will be buffer zones within the stadium. There will be safe zones within the stadium. You would ensure that there are no breaches and all that. And then in some instances, you will even engage the fans in a dialogue way before the match goes on. So if you take a decision not to carry out any of these activities, then that is a choice that we have made, and these choices have consequences.
And that is what is happening within our game? Is that what is happening?
Absolutely. Wow. Absolutely.
Okay, so Nick, just stay with me. I'm going to speak to a former player who has played in this competition. And in fact, the name I was trying to recall is Nanda Krontehini, Mr. Welbeck Ebrapia. He has told me a story of how he was attacked at the Caledon Park many years ago and even made to sit on the floor and watch Kotoko, was it Okoye United, play RTU at the Caledon Park. But we continue to have that. Augustine and Hemfo, you have played in this product for many, many years, and these stories continue to be with us. Why are we still here? What hasn't changed? What must we do?
You put me out of my early morning walk.
Yes, I apologize for that.
That's okay. I think that we as a people should begin to move away from this hooliganism, as you can call it, to move to the new realm of sports. We support with all our might, and so we tend to forget that it is just a game. We sometimes look at it as if it is a do and die affair, but it is never a do and die affair. So as a people, I mean, we need to begin to move away from these attacks on opposing teams and what you can call it. What happened in Swatreman 2 days ago or so has finally brought this thing home for us to tackle it once and for all. I heard you say to your other guest about security and all. I believe that the GFA, which is running football now, should beef up their security sector a bit, together with the National Police Service that we know. You have to work in tandem so that we forestall all these things happen. I believe that it should not happen. It shouldn't continue. Because when I was playing on the local scene, yes, there were some areas that we went and it was difficult even to enter the stadium. How many years down the line? More than 30 years down the line, we are still experiencing this. And this time, it's even worse. But if you look at the video, a team that is supposed to play another team, entering the stadium was even an issue. The question I'll pose to you is that, where was the match commissioners, the people who were supposed to commission the match, for the match to actually come into being? Where were they? Did they see those things happening? Was there a pre-match conference? What were the things that were discussed during the conference? So this thing has to be looked at critically. Why should I have an issue entering a stadium that officially I'm supposed to partake in a competition on that field? Why should I have issue entering that pitch?
And Nick was just talking about how FIFA and CAF often ensure that the security officers are on the ground way ahead of the game so that they can understand the mood of the people, what an atmosphere around the game is all about, so that they can also advise. And to him, that is not happening in our game. Clearly,
it is not happening, Mufta. Look, the whole day, let's say on a Sunday, from the morning until the game, the time the game ends, the security should be up and doing. The security as well as the people who are supposed to commission the match, they are up and doing. They have to be there, make sure that exactly what you said was in place. How many police officers are in there? How many ambulance workers, whatever, are in the station in there? Over in Europe, you don't use security, you use stewards. They are the ones who are supposed to direct where you are supposed to sit and all. You hardly see police officers in the stadium, but they are around. They are positioned around. Unless something untoward happens, you will never see them. So when the police are there, taking strategic positions around the field, nobody, no fan, will be able to say that, look, we are doing A, B, C, D. Why should ordinary people be seen in the inner perimeter during matches? Why? Why should you see, let's say, a home team playing and supporters? They don't have any business being in the inner perimeter. Why do you see them there?
Okay, Mr. Ahimfo, hang on for me briefly. I'm going to bring back Nick on this. Nick, what security lapses might have led to this, and how do we fix those security lapses? And one thing too I want to understand is that if you saw the videos, you'd realize that the police officers were there. What sort of arrangement do venue security often have with the police, to the extent that when some of these things are happening, you only see the police taking part in trying to separate the two opposing teams or players from exchanging punches, as we saw, instead of arresting the people who have found their way into the inner perimeter?
All right, thank you very much. To deliver a very, very safe and secure match is a mixture of both the infrastructure that you are using and the personnel that are running the infrastructure. Clearly, from the videos that you've been playing, you could see some of the fans of the matches standing right behind the goalpost of either of the teams, and it's unacceptable. Under no circumstance should that happen in the most elite league in our country. It shouldn't happen. So that's the first breach. Now, whoever will be responsible for ensuring that the safety and security arrangements are done would have had briefing with the police, would have had proper deployments done. The whole essence is to create an atmosphere where all these incidents can be prevented from happening. Nobody who is accredited to be in the inner perimeter, which is usually zone 1 and zone 2, yes, should have access to the inner perimeter under any circumstance. Nobody. So for incidents to happen and you see people have access to the place, they go about doing things that they are not supposed, even including CEOs of teams and then chairmen of clubs. They shouldn't. They shouldn't. So it is clearly something that we are lacking as a country, and collectively we need to take responsibility and make sure that these things are correct. You ask yourself clearly, what such regimes are put in place? You go to matches and then you find people bringing all manner of things into the stadium, things that can be used as a weapon should tensions rise high. And what such regimes are put in place to ensure that these things don't find their way into the stadium. In fact, how would somebody be able to take a knife or a glass or anything that can be used as a weapon, even in and around the stadium? Because usually the search regimes are placed, in some instances, 2 or 3 or 4 miles before you enter the stadium. So if somebody can hurt somebody right around the stadium, it's unacceptable.
In fact, I recall in Qatar, when I was going inside the stadium and I was holding a microphone, and because the microphone had a stick, they asked me to take the microphone away because it had like something, those microphones.
And when were you asked to take it off? Were you asked to take it off in the stadium or way before you go to the stadium?
No, that was immediately I was gotten into the surroundings because they had barricaded outside of the stadium.
Exactly.
So
you could see that clearly there was somebody in charge. There was somebody taking responsibility for whoever is coming into the stadium and what the person is bringing into the stadium.
Atapoku, how do we curb this issue of hooliganism?
Well, Muftau, it's a collective responsibility as far as I'm concerned. And everybody involved should look at it this way. I'm happy with what Nick said about going there early. Muftau, you know what? The General Secretary of the Kotoko Supporters Union in the Bono Ahafo region lost the dad, and the entire contingent were in Kumasi on Saturday for the funeral. At the funeral, they were discussing that, look, Insuachaman are desperate to remain, and Kotoko want to win the league. That game is going to be fireworks, come what may. But we categorize these games under category B or C without looking at the specific situation at hand. So I would urge the security department of the FA to take things up, further up, and then change some of the attitude and approach we take to these games. Secondly, I have an IMC member telling me that at the pre-match meeting, the number of police officers they were told would be at the stadium was not even up to a quarter to what they saw on the ground. Beyond that, the safest place in every stadium is supposed to be the pitch and the inner perimeter. Even there, we had intruders getting onto the pitch to attack players. So there was failure of security in the stands, on the pitch, and even outside the stadium. So it's quite worrying, the approach we take to some of these games. Well, it should be a normal game, nothing would happen. But look at us. This is going to set us back. People wouldn't come to the stadium.
Exactly where I was heading to, yeah. Because, in fact, our cameras were actually in town to speak to some supporters who were all saying that it means that I cannot even guarantee that I can go to the stadium with my family and come back safe. And that's a major problem. But Atapoku, just stay with me. I'll wrap up pretty soon. But I want to get the thoughts of Augustine Ahemfo on this. As a footballer, when these things happen and they can be directed to you, psychologically, does it have any sort of impact on you? Unfortunately, Augustine Ahemfo is gone off. But Nick, let's just wrap up the conversation. Talk to me about the policies we should have or we should lay down just to ensure that this never happens again. Unfortunately, Nick too is off. Atapoku, are you with me?
I'm here with you, Muftau.
Yeah, so I was just asking what sort of policies we should put down to ensure that our football is safe.
I still don't get why we entrust security for games in the hands of home teams. I don't know if it is because of the proximity to the ground and then security detail in the district or region. But a party who has interest cannot guarantee the safety of everybody. Nick was asking why, Ahemfo was asking where the match commissioner was when Kotoko was struggling to enter the pitch. What you when they were struggling to enter the stadium, what you saw, Muftau, was because Kotoko went with their bus and a 2M Express bus, which had other people in it. And then Insuachaman wouldn't allow the 2M Express bus to enter because it's the bus alone that was supposed to be there. That was the reason for the rancor at the beginning of all this. And it's lamentable how we put the security of the game in the hands of an interested party. The FA should liaise directly with government and create a security or safety group that the government will lead and then the FA would support. That will look at providing security that is verifiable and independent and not corrupted by one of the parties or have an interest in one of the parties' success on the day. Secondly, our police officers should be up and doing in the stadium. The way things are going, if we don't change our approach to handling larger crowd or match policing, we will continue to talk and talk and talk and nothing will change. It is not just 8 Premier League games a week. We have a lot of Division 1 league games that
and Division 2 matches, yeah.
A lot is happening. So if we could get a unit for sports policing and abreast them with the latest trends and events and how they would go about it, well equipped with the techniques and other, we would be better off because we've been seeing these things.
Okay.
It's been happening.
Okay.
And Muftau, we are only lucky it just happened now. This thing has been bothering on it. It's been threatening to happen, and now here we are. Look at the players on the screen. An intruder coming to attack them, and they have to defend themselves. On the pitch, our security for match day is a mess.
Quite unfortunate. Nick, there are people of the opinion that the game should have been suspended the moment it halted for about 30 minutes plus because tensions were high. If you were there, what would you have advised? And what advice would you give to the Ghana Football Association in terms of policies that we should put in place to ensure that this does not happen again? Please do this for me within 45 seconds, please. Hello, Nick. Are you with me? Please unmute. Please unmute for me.
Thank you. Your question again, please.
The question was this. The game was halted for about 30 minutes plus because tensions were high. People were pelting missiles onto the pitch. They were pelting others. In fact, Kwesi Appiah said that he was pelted with water and all that. There are those who said that the game should have been suspended the moment this happened. And so I want you to send an advice to the Ghana Football Association, the government of Ghana, in terms of what must be done when we find ourselves in similar situations where games are halted for such a longer period because of the tensions. And what are the policies that we should put in place to ensure that this does not happen again? Please do this for me within 45 seconds.
Okay. I think the first thing that we need to do, I don't think the game should have been halted. I'm sure the match commissioner and all others who were in charge would have had a crisis meeting within that period and taking a decision as to whether to continue with the match or not. So whatever decision they took, I mean, they were on grounds, they would have seen the prevailing circumstances and take those decisions. What I would say is that we need to start taking safety and security at match venues very, very serious in this country. It's an expensive venture. FIFA and CAF spent a lot of money in this sector, but the question is that there is no amount of money higher than a human life. So irrespective of the cost, we need to take this thing seriously. And as I've indicated, it's a mix between infrastructure and personnel. So we have to ensure that the stadiums that we are approving to host our Premier Leagues are fit for purpose. I mean, there are some stadiums that you go and you ask yourself, even as a journalist, you ask yourself, how did this stadium pass to host a Premier League? Yeah. And you guys talk about this all the time. So yes, we need to make a decision as a country whether we want to go forward and become like the Moroccans, the South Africans, the Egyptians, the Algerians. We need to take that decision. And when we take that decision, standards should be enforced and adhered to strictly, irrespective of whoever you are. If we feel that it's only 4 stadiums that are fit for purpose, let's rotate all the matches around those places, so that even it will be good for coverage, it will be good for your cameras, and people will feel safer going to the stadium. Because when people don't go to the stadium, these are the consequences. It affects gate proceeds, it affects sponsorship, it affects the whole league. So we need to take this seriously as a country and take steps to ensure that this doesn't happen again. Okay, Nick, thank you very much. Nick is a CAF and FIFA security expert, and Collins Atapoko is a colleague journalist. He's with Sumpa FM in Kumasi, and also Augustine Ahimfo, he's a former player. He was striker of the Black Stars. And unfortunately, Kujo Fiano, who is a former chairman of the Ghana League Clubs Association, could not join us, but hopefully in our subsequent conversations we'll be able to have him. We appreciate your time here with us on AM Sports. Thank you very much. Head on to myjoyonline.com and read some more sports stories.
Democratic Party national leadership were in attendance at this news conference led by the national chairman himself to press home the demand that Speaker of Parliament Albert Bagbin rescinds that decision to suspend 4 members of Parliament, 3 of them who are members of the New Patriotic Party. According to Minority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin, the Speaker has acted in flagrant breach of the rights of their members of Parliament as well as the standing orders of Parliament.
He now says that he has, on his own, suspended these members without hearing them. The chair of the committee did not communicate anything to the Speaker. Neither did the Speaker invite any of us in leadership for any discussion. In any event, even where there is punishment, our rules are clear. It can be for 4 days, 8 days, or 12 days, according to Order 130.
Alexander Afenyo-Markin says they've escalated this issue to their national party leadership, who are in full support of the decisions they are taking.
We have also taken the matter up. We have escalated the matter to our party level. MPP Minority Caucus is a wing of the MPP in Parliament. So we have also communicated this matter to party headquarters. The national chairman, the general secretary, and the national executives have become aware of this, and they take the matter seriously. They are not taking it lightly at all.
According to Alexander Afenyo-Markin, the party tried on several occasions over the weekend to meet the Speaker of Parliament and discuss with him their concerns, but were not successful, and are looking forward to meeting him today to ventilate their concerns. The NPP say they consider the vetting that was done on Friday after they had recused themselves as a complete nullity. You will recall that 12 persons were vetted on Friday, apart from Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, the Minister Designate for Foreign Affairs. The 11 other persons were vetted without the participation of the NPP minority, and they say they view that as a nullity.
That was an illegality. They defied Mr. Speaker, even though Mr. Speaker said we should stop proceedings and reconstitute the committee. So it's illegal. It's a nullity. It's odious. We cannot be part of it, and we'll make our position known on the House floor. To court the last time because all doors for engagement were shut. On this occasion, the doors of engagement have not been shut yet.
It is not clear yet if Alban Bagbin is going to grant audience to the minority and NPP leadership to discuss their concerns, but we look forward to formally hearing from them in terms of what specific steps they are going to take going forward, now that the decisions have been taken and have already taken effect. In attendance today at this news conference were 3 of these 4 MPs who have been suspended: Hassan Tampuli, Jerry Ahmed Shaib, and Frank Anodompre, who are still attending to Parliament and doing other things, despite the clear directives of Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin that they are suspended from performing any parliamentary responsibilities for the next 2 weeks. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
That we have decided to hold a public hearing of all the issues starting from Wednesday here in Parliament House at 10 a.m. prompt. We shall expect members of Parliament, the media, the guests who were present at a vetting room, as well as members of the general public, to voluntarily appear to assist the committee with the relevant information on the incident. The committee has created a digital platform, a WhatsApp platform, where we shall receive multimedia evidence, including videos, audios, and text to facilitate a speedy execution of the committee's tasks. The committee has decided that we will solicit the service of a forensic expert from the Ghana Police Service to assist with the authentication and analysis and validation of any multimedia evidence that will be received from the witness. Starting from this morning or this afternoon, we will start viewing some of the video evidences that Parliament has. The committee would like to place on record that it is not part of its job to target or witch hunt anyone. And I want to repeat it. We are not here to witch hunt any of our colleagues or members of Parliament. This work is to look for evidence of any member of Parliament who may have flouted the rules of engagement in this House.
Welcome back in the studio, and those are the matters we're contemplating today with our guests. That committee has been set up under the directive of the Speaker of Parliament to investigate the recent chaos at the Appointments Committee, to start its public hearings to uncover the truth behind the violent incident on Thursday, January the 30th. But of course, the Speaker himself has come under some criticism on the back of these developments. Well, joining us in the studio for a discussion, we have Joseph Kwame Kuma. He is a Member of Parliament for Kintampo North. We also have Dr. Kabiru Mahama. He is Member of Parliament for Wale Wale. They join us in the studio. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Well, let's start from your initial reactions to those footages we just showed you, the Minority Press Conference and the response from the chairman of that special committee set up by the Speaker of Parliament. Let me start with you, Mr. Kabiru Mahama. Initial reactions, and then we get surgical with the discussion.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you and to your cherished listeners. You recall that this event happened on the back of a committee set up to, if you like, public hearing of President Mahama nominees. In the course of that was on Thursday night, it led to physical altercations, which was unfortunate. The Speaker consequently suspended 4 of our members. The minority caucus of Parliament met to discuss this particular development, came to a firm resolution that, much as the event was unfortunate, the decision by the by the administrative head, or if you like, the head of the institution of Parliament, that is the Speaker, was also ultra-varied in the sense that substantive and procedurally, the Speaker did not act rightly, much as the event leading up to that particular decision by the Speaker was also unfortunate and not right. We also think that a wrong does not correct a wrong. It is only the right that does correct the wrong. And our view is that the Speaker acted in excess of the powers guaranteed under the Constitution and the Standard of Orders. We also feel that even where the law allows the Speaker to act in the manner that he did, he exceeded the powers allowed by the Constitution and the Standard Orders. And we found that the punishment was not proportionate to that of the offense, so-called. So these are was not proportionate. So these are our views about the Speaker's decision, and we found that to be unfortunate, very unfortunate, just like the unfortunate situation. And we take strong view, take strong exception, and we believe that the Speaker will rescind that decision and let procedural matters be handled as such, and we'll follow the standing orders and the Constitution in addressing these matters.
Okay. Let's also give the opportunity to Mr. Kuma to also weigh in before we start discussing. Initial comments.
Thank you for this opportunity, and I'll say hello to the people of Kintampo North, and then let me also use this opportunity to say to Honorable Mutaka that condolences to him and the family. They are burying the mother this morning at Kumasi.
Condolences to him.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for this opportunity. I am sad that Parliament, which is supposed to be an exemplary to the nation, will be involved in this sort of act. Viewing the videos or the visuals,
my senior brother, ABA Hussein, will always tell you, when somebody dies at the market site, you don't need to announce the funeral again. Why am I saying so? Let's just observe what is happening. It is uncalled for. It is just, I can't imagine it. We have brought Parliament's name to the barest minimum. If for any reason one cannot participate on an issue because you were exhausted, it is out of place. We have various ways of doing things in Parliament. Gently pack your things and walk out. And the next day, make your case. There was no need to start vandalizing things as we are seeing. We will get into the issue. What did the Speaker do? You see, the moment this vetting started, there were a whole lot of criticisms out there. Media houses, civil society organizations, they were not happy the way things were going on. It's a whole lot. People are criticizing Parliament that some of the issues are being personalized. But we all know that the moment you qualify to be a member of Parliament, it means you qualify to be a minister. So people want to hear issues of decision-making or things that can rope into policy for the nation. For instance, if you are asking the Minister of Communication, Sam George, a whole lot of things about things he wrote against the president or he ever said on social media. What does it bring to somebody at Kintampo North who wants his rural or her rural telephony system to work? The people are looking for things that will let the nation move on, and not what Sam George did against. If Sam George ever did something against the president, it is the right of anybody to send him to the appropriate quarters to either say withdraw or otherwise. But it's not a time of vetting that you want to equalize in a political manner. So for me, the Speaker, having been one of the Methuselahs of Parliament, knows more than all of us. He is our father. He has passed through all the ranks in Parliament. And for him, genuinely, if you go by our orders, reading from Order 129, which talks of suspension, to Order 130, which talks of the period to suspend, it is true that first this should be 4 days, followed by another 4 days, and so on and so forth. Yes. But at times, some radical things require radical actions to calm nerves down. And I'm sure that is what possibly the Speaker sought to do.
Honorable Kumar, quick point. You say he's a Methuselah, he knows more than all of you, but the mere fact that he's been in, and with all respect to the Right Honorable Speaker, the mere fact that he's been in there for that long doesn't mean he's infallible or cannot make mistakes. So you do admit that it was more than your standing orders, your new standing orders guarantee. But on the other hand, there are those who have said that even what he meted out was not enough. Let me start with Dr. Mahama, and then I'll come back to you on this bit. Why are members of Parliament, I mean, Sweetie and I have been thinking through, what is it? What is it? Why can't you get along? Today, there was this quote in the Daily Graphic. Let me see whether I can just briefly bring it up. When it was talking about parliamentarians and all that, there was this quote. I just want to see whether I can find it. It's by Indira Gandhi. Why can't you work in the national interest? And it must always be my side, our side. We feel this way, and there's rancor here and there. What is it? It's setting very bad precedents. And young people are looking at you and thinking, that's how it must be done. You must do buga. You must pick up chairs and throw them. You must hold someone by the scruff of the neck. You must, and that is politics. Indira Gandhi says, winning or losing of the election is less important than strengthening the country. People are doing NDC, MPP in Parliament, and the rest of the nation is watching you. And pardon me, you're not children. What's going on?
Yeah, so the role of Parliament is oversight. And when you have a system where it's like we have a hybrid system where the legislative arm of government sometimes serves in the executive arm of government, the oversight role is left to the opposition. That's the first major thing everyone has to understand. That oversight in our democracy, it has to be done by the opposition because of the fact that there is a hybrid system of democracy where the legislature is not independent, so-called, of the executive. That said, if the minority or the opposition is playing this role, you are bound to have resistance from the majority who are in bed with the executive. How do you go about this particular, how do you navigate this particular situation? Because the democracy, the oversight, the representation, in other words, the check and balances that the 1992 Constitution has guaranteed us under Article 93 cannot be exercised unless we have a strong opposition. Now, we are exercising that. The majority thinks that by their numbers, they have to bully the minority. Easy way, walk out. But does that serve the interest of the Ghanaian people? No. Because the Ghanaian...
So the actions
I'm coming.
Putting a chair on the table
I'm coming
to cables knee now.
I'm coming to address that. The minority never set out to put a table to be a chair on the table. This was what happened. They rose up in firm disagreement with the decision of the speaker, of the chair, and the majority to continue with the process, irrespective of the earlier agreement. How do you protest in parliament? You protest by standing up. That's one way, legitimate, of showing, saying that, look, what you are doing is not procedural right, what you are doing is not right, what you are doing is against the law, is against common sense, is against our consensus. That's what the minority did.
After standing up?
After standing up, then the majority leadership, my good friend Roxanne Eche, the Femakpo, had the temerity to move from his side to go to the minority side, in other words, to forcefully evict them from the room. As minority member, I will not sit down and allow, because I'm not numerically, I'm not strong, for someone to force me out of a legal mandate and perform for the people of Ghana. You have the responsibility to stand up to it. And that's what happened. You see that almost what happened, it was the minority members who moved from wherever they were and moved to contain Honorable Afenyo Markins, Anodon Pre, we have Habib, and then a couple of other people, Tampule. So it's that all the action took place. If the minority members were in their place standing up and say, we will not agree to this, I'm not sure there will be any physical destruction of properties. So this happened because...
Why did the minority members not just walk out? Why do you not just walk out?
So this is a trick. When you walk out, you allow impunity to continue. You allow the majority to have a... Look at when we walk out, what happened with the veteran? Just imagine when the minority walk out of the version, what happened? So unless, of course, the Ghanaian people want the minority to give up, if the majority is bullying them with their numbers and will not subject them to strict accountability, then we all agree, all the people of Ghana expect us to walk out if the people so want whatever they want to do. And mind you, because of their overwhelming majority, they don't need the minority to carry on business of the house. Right. We can decide to be in the houses. Why should we fight? Okay? We can decide. But when we resist, we use legal means to resist. Look, the chairman of this so-called committee is on record to have stated that, they will beat the minority. This is a clear contemptuous...
Hold right there. He is on... You say he's on
record. It's on record to have said...
Hold for me. Oh, no. Record, when you say record, are you referring to the Hansard?
No, not the Hansard. He was interviewed...
What's your reference?
He was interviewed on the back of the minority-majority debacle, on which side of the house they should sit. Bajira stated that they will beat them. This is a clearly. Physical beating. I have the video here. I can play for you to hear. And this is the same person. This is a clearly contemptuous comment under order 30 of our standing orders. Specifically, or the 31.
If this can be proven, why have you not taken it up in?
No, so I mean that's one
because
thing.
This could be another. You cannot threaten another MP, a member of parliament, not even another citizen. Your colleague MP cannot be threatened. And we don't have, our viewers don't have the benefit of this, so we can't.
No, so that's the point. I can play it for people, but I'm not even going to that. My point is that When people think that because of their numbers, even before that, just this parliament, I heard it, the MP for Ashama, he was in the house.
And it's not bad.
So
the MP for Ashama stated categorical that majority leader allow us to go there and beat them.
Dr. Kabiru, I have a question. So you said the majority tried to bully you. The Speaker of Parliament acted in excess of the powers granted by the Constitution.
Exactly.
And you are trying to use legal means to oppose or to register your displeasure. So granted that it was the majority side that started this altercation, and you say you are using legal means to resolve these issues, and you're doing your work as opposition. Does two wrongs, or do two wrongs make one right? If you're using legal means, and you've seen that the majority side aren't using what you would call legal means, they stood up, come to your side, trying to overturn tables, must you meet them boot for boot?
The Constitution.
How is that legal for you to also engage in that altercation?
The Constitution
that's, brewed into what
the
we
Constitution
saw
of our
national
republic.
Television, and
the Constitution.
International media has picked it up.
The Constitution of Ghana stated in the preamble of this Constitution on what is expected of every citizen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And it asked all of us to ensure that we protect the Constitution, even if it's at the peril of our lives. That is what the Constitution enjoins us to do. So if we see that someone is raping the Constitution, someone without conscience is abusing the powers so much vested in that person by the Constitution,
you go down there to
we
the
would
ground.
have to protect the Constitution, even if it is at the peril of their lives, unless, of course, we don't have the laws that says that we should protect.
Look, are you justifying the actions of the...
No. I've stated that it was unfortunate spectacle. I stated that it shouldn't have led to that. I stated that the criminal proceedings that is required by the police to carry on without prejudice to Parliament's own internal process should be followed. I agree with that. Those who are responsible for the distraction must be surcharged. These are our clear positions on this product. But I'm saying that despite that, an investigation would have told us the exact cause of this particular incident, the full scale of the people involved, the people involved, and what punishment should be recommended for them. If the Speaker had followed that, and we were discussing the report of the Privileges and Immunity Committee, it would have been a different matter.
I think we'll get to that second leg of the conversation as well, focusing more on this. We've already established some things, but very quickly, I remember the wording you used, and I'll come to you. Patience. I'll come to you shortly. I remember the wording you used, that Dapia Mekpo had the temerity to come over to your end. You do realize that even in law, someone may agitate you. That's why back then we would have crimes of passion, talk about that. But even there, if you go ahead and do certain things, some things may be tempered, but the action still stands, and you may face the legal consequences. What could have been the best reaction to a Roxanne Nelson Dapia Mekpo coming to your side and maybe saying, okay, you guys must go? Was the best reaction what we saw? Is that the only way you could have dealt with the situation?
Instinctively, every man has this inalienable or natural right to self-defense, instinctively. We may say that you are honorable men, you are supposed to exercise some level of decorum, some level of patience, some level of tolerance, and persevere, if you like. And I would have stated, I mean, there were people in that particular meeting that stood and never got themselves in the altercation. I would have thought that even if in the midst of this provocation, they would have exercised patience, they would have insisted that, look, we are not going out, but this process cannot continue because we have rules governing this process.
Okay, all right.
They could have exercised that patience.
Right.
But that said, I am not also naive to think that if someone is threatened, someone is attacked, the person doesn't have the right to defend himself.
So, response mechanism.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you. In first place, I want my brother Kabiru not to just say that the chairman of the committee came out with the issue that if they joke, they should beat them or whatever. Whoever you are quoting is not the chairman of the committee. The first deputy speaker Honorable Ahiafo is the chairman of the
talking
committee.
of the committee the president set up. So get the difference. The president set up a committee to investigate this
The
thing.
speaker, you mean?
Well,
the speaker, yeah.
The case in point now is about the appointment committee and not a committee the president set up.
Yeah, but when I say I made reference
Parliament,
to it,
thank you very much.
that, yeah.
So
but you do acknowledge that any claim about will beat you is also
I was in Parliament that day.
Right.
You see, what happens in Parliament is this: if a brother Ernest Dogbe pass a comment that if they joke, let's beat them. When we are within the chamber, we do throw jabs. He did it.
So in the spirit of not beating, please watch how you.
He did it. I'm coming. He did it not out of anger. We do throw. Kabiru, you are aware. You will sit at far end and throw jabs to the other side. When somebody is even talking, you will tell the fellow, "Hey, sit down." In a joke, he doesn't mean it. How can Ernest Dogbe say, "Let's go and beat the MPPs"? He can't just go and do that. And even that leader. Ayarga, majority leader, told him, "Oh, don't say that." It was out of joke. He didn't mean it. In any case,
but why say it if you don't mean it?
No, he didn't. If you go inside, your reporters are here. They see a whole lot of things.
I acknowledge that in Parliament, certain things
very
happen,
good.
but
We just play. At times, yes. It was just out of joke. Not he didn't mean it. The Dogbe never meant that. Secondly, we have a social media lesson here that says that I don't want to believe it. Maybe the investigation will come out with it. This honorable member of Parliament, during the chaos, one of the MPs held under a table and squeezed. No, he bowed under the table and squeezed the balls of Roxanne Dafemakbo. I'm coming.
This morning we had that discussion.
Apparently. No, I'm coming. But what could make Honorable Dafemakbo to jump to the other side? In any case, if he did not because somebody held his balls, and he's a chief whip, he has gone to your side maybe to appeal to you that, "Oh, my brothers, why are you doing this?" We are friends in Parliament. We are never enemies. So if Dafemakbo is found there, gunless, cutlassless, bulletless, what harm did he cause? He was in a smoke. He didn't throw a fist. You were rather holding his smoke. The visual is there. That's why I said.
Referring to Hassan Tampuli.
And all those people. Dafemakbo never threw a fist. He's a leader, a chief whip.
But why did he go to the other end?
No, if he crossed to your side, maybe it was to appeal to you that, "Oh, calm down." Look at him. He never threw a fist. Look at Dafemakbo. Just look at how you were handling him. So the visual is there. That's why I said, see,
look at Keita MP. His name is look at Keita MP.
What was he doing? Keita MP is trying to say, look, his hands are down. He didn't throw a fist. The visuals are there. So for Speaker to observe, that day, before Speaker came out and even spoke about this and did the suspension, it took us almost the whole day. From 10 a.m., he did it around 5 p.m., which means they observed these things, looked at the audio visuals, and then he came up with it. Fine. No matter how.
But it's been said that when they appear before the committee, they will have to defend because there are some people you will see in there who may be moving and all that, but they are not directly involved in anything. So when you're invited, you will then come and explain what happened as far as your presence
and
is.
Secondly, the MPP's press conference, politicizing it. For me, they should have made it all inclusive. Talking for Dafemakbo and talking for themselves. That in their view, maybe Mr. Speaker stretch his bounds. In that case, I would have liked that because we are all parliamentarians and this thing happened to all of us. The Speaker didn't politicize it by dealing with the MPPs and leaving the NDC. No, Dafemakbo is from the NDC side, and then it's just that your people are majority, but majority in the sense that when we look at the audio visuals, my senior brother, my respected senior brother, what is the name? Your chief whip.
Yeah, Anodompre.
Frank Anodompre.
Anodompre lifted a whole chair. He began it, kept the chair on the table, then others also followed suit. In the secondary school sector.
Did he really say what has been suggested, Muntu 2 cables?
In fact, I have not heard him. but I have seen him
Kabiru,
lifting a chair as the commander and convener of the whole thing.
Oh.
I
did not hear him say
I did not hear. I didn't hear him. But the whole of Ghana has seen him He began the lifting of chairs and putting on table. And the next thing you could see was that the police were forced to carry a broken table and were moving away. So if Speaker doesn't go with this drastic measure, by the next morning you would have heard a senior high, a secondary school students also vandalizing things in there. What will you tell them?
No. I posed the question to Kabiru. I'll pose that same question to you, and then Sweetie will continue the conversation. I asked, you are supposed to be, you see, I don't know whether as members of parliament you recognize that you occupy a very privileged position. People queue, bake in the sun to vote for Kuma, for Mahama, because they feel, when you come on the show, sometimes I see comments, people saying, oh, and he's doing, you bear the title honorable. It's actually your office, and you must live up to it. But some of these actions put you in a very bad light. So I want to find out, look, from on the back of Ayawaso West Wugon, we saw the placards, bloody, I will not add. Very distasteful. We've seen actions in parliament with all kinds of invectives sometimes spewed, sometimes with the microphone off. We've seen the running away with ballots, Carlos Ahinkra. We've seen all of these, and now this. It appears it's just devolving, getting worse and worse. Why can't you, as members of parliament, Honorable Kuma, why can't you be honorable?
That is why I began by condemning what I have saw. In fact, I'm not happy. I'm sad that that thing happened. It was needless, and as I said, the minority had another opportunity to just pack their things and walk out. Then the next morning, do the media engagement and so on and so forth. Before this parliament, before we rose, I joined Cindy and went for voting and came. You remember Leader Fenyomakin then, majority leader. There was an issue, he was in banter with Speaker. He threw his arms and said all sorts of things he could say onto Speaker. But Speaker never bothered. The next moment, he called for a press conference, and they went and addressed the press. When they addressed the press, that was it. Nobody picked any harmful thing in Parliament, and we left them to go. So they could have done same. All these press conferences are bringing national executives and whatever inside, politicizing them. It's neither here nor there, because for me, if they were doing it as a whole, Parliament together, Mr. Speaker, your suspension of Dafia Makbo, suspension of the three of our people, we think it is not genuine. Let's go back to our standing orders. Standing order 129, you read it together with standing order 130, which together brings the substance and the Constitution by Article 19. Yes, Article 19. If you put all pattern. Pardon me.
The audio ultra pattern, fair hearing.
Very good. Right, so if we go to that tangent, then it means we are doing things together. But the moment you begin to politicize it, bringing your party people in, then we'll continue to be splitted in Parliament, which will not do us any good.
Okay, so I think the conversation would, we're going along the lines of first, what happened? Although Shakespeare says there's no act to show the mind's construction on the face, both of you have tried, to the best of your knowledge, to explain what you think happened and why we got to where we are. And then we look at the punitive actions or the disciplinary measures, which your side says is an overkill. Your side says, well, the situation called for it. Yeah. But before we move on to that leg, I want to ask you, Dr. Kabiru. So yesterday, the chairman of the appointment committee made some claims, and I want you to respond to that. He said that the minority leader played it smart and safe. I've heard him ask, I'm quoting him now, I've heard him asking them to do some of the things that they did. But when they were about to start, he left the room. So he's saying, in essence, that the minority leader is the one that instigated all of this. But because he left the room, he's nowhere in there for him to take some of the part of the blame. However, he's, giving press conferences and so on and so forth. Is that a fact? How do you respond to that?
With the greatest of respect to lawyer Ahemfo Bernard, the first deputy speaker, I would think that all this is as a result of his failure. The buck should stop with him because he is the leader of the committee. to even go out there to start apportioning blame to other people is the most unfortunate. He should take the first major responsibility to ensuring that where there is no consensus at IDIM, he makes sure that he prevails on members to come to the table and have understanding of issues.
But
once he feels that
Alexander Afenyo-Markin behind
I'll address that. Once he feels that, it shouldn't go anywhere to begin to say that this person should be blamed, this person should be blamed. Because I've had occasion, even on the back of the first nominees, to say that Honorable Ahemfo Bernard is not playing the role expected of him. He's under pressure. Party fanatics, full soldier would attack him and insult him that he's being soft. People will say that he's allowing Afenyo-Markin to dictate how he should go. All that put pressure on him. But you realize that in order for people to have faith and confidence, you must act fairly. You must make sure that you give people the opportunity to ask their questions. Look, nominees will come and say all sorts of things against people who are not in the committee. But when a member of parliament is going to ask nominees certain questions, say the person is not here, so you can put the question to him. That is true that if the person is not here, the person didn't alter a report, you can't put a question. It is also similar true for saying that Swede was not here, so don't let us not ask questions about him because you are not here to defend yourself. But the speaker, first deputy speaker, will allow questions, and people would make sort of vindictive, all sorts of things against other people who are not in the committee to defend themselves. But when you want to put the nominee to questions, it says that no. That's it. Afenyo-Markin stood up to say that, look, we are defying this impunity. And he made this position clear to the chief whip. And the chief whip made this position clear to the members of the minority in that committee that we will not allow this to continue.
Did he encourage you to resist with all any means possible?
He encouraged us to resist the oppressor's rule. He encouraged us to stand up to what is right and what is proper for the good for the country.
By any means necessary.
He encouraged us to do whatever is possible to make sure that the Ghanaian people are not shortchanged.
So he did say do whatever is possible.
I am saying that he asks us to do whatever is possible to ensure that the Ghanaian people are not shortchanged.
Does that feed into Bernard Ahemfo's narrative?
So when he said that, he was even in the room when everything happened. Okay, apart from leader, there were other people who were in the room that are not cited in this report.
Right.
It didn't mean that they play smarter than the other people. In everything, the chief whip would have to be the one whipping people. That's the role of the chief whip. Okay. And if you see anything done by Frank and not Dompre, you don't think there's not a gentleman. He's playing a role. My friend Roxanne Defi Amakwo is a chief whip.
Okay.
If you see him doing anything, it means that it is the role placed on him.
So, I know Ben wants to come in. Ben, you go ahead.
It's interesting, first of all, how you've moved from majority to oppressed. But I don't know whether the role of chief whip includes some of the actions we've seen in parliament, whipping people. I see even the Knesset in Israel, I see the UK's parliament, I see the US. It gets hot, it gets fiery. But I don't see these scenes, so I don't know about whipping. But coming to you, Mr. Kuma, the minority has said that post what happened, the vettings that were had were a nullity, as Afenyo-Markin in his legal sense will say it was Oshios. He had a different pronunciation, though.
Ochios.
Ochios. They say that when these candidates come to the plenary, the floor of parliament, where all of you are going to vote, they will not participate in it. And that even on the back of what the speaker said, that there should be a cessation, that is also contrary to what the speaker said. These vettings that were conducted, were they legal?
Thank you. Very legal. By the standing orders of parliament, let's go to the Constitution. 104 of the Constitution article says that we need about one-third. We need one-third of members to transact business on the floor of parliament. But we need, when you go to 104, that 102 is on 110. Yeah. Then 104 is on decision making. We need 50, the number 50 plus, to take decision. If you translate it or you fit it into the vetting committee, by our numbers, the NDC members in the vetting committee are 9. I think they are 11, isn't it? The whole number is 11. Yeah. The NDCs are 7, and then the MPP 4. Now, having left the place or whatever happened, the next day, I was there that night. I was there when the vetting went on. The 7 members of the NDC were present, and they were enough to take decision because their number was more than the 50 to take decision. So they under 104, it is a qualification. So for anybody to try to shoot that down, it's not the truth.
How about on the standpoint of, I remember at some point, at the dawn of the 9th Parliament, Afenyo Markin saying that, look, their numbers are small, but they are charging the majority side to ensure that you must work in tandem and not just run roughshod over the minority. And Mahama Ayarige responding that they are not going to abuse, or you are not going to abuse your majority. Yes, per the numbers, you could go ahead, but how does that feed into the bit about working together with the other side and letting our democracy work?
Yesterday, I monitored the first deputy speaker, the chair of the committee, and he did indicate that the person who could tell him not to continue with the vetting was supposed to be the speaker. And let it be on record. Every committee in Parliament, what we say is that, Mr. Speaker, your committee, the Education Select Committee takes reports and decisions on behalf of the Speaker. So the vetting committee, whatever they are doing there, they are doing it on behalf of the Speaker. That's the ultimate thing there in Parliament. So for you to say that their continuity with the vetting is a nullity, no, because that day we all observe. Honorable Habib tried to raise that issue, that the Speaker's communication on the floor meant that they couldn't continue with the vetting. The chairman, who is the first deputy speaker, made it clear to him that it was not him who was supposed to communicate anything to him. You know, we are dealing with legalities here. You are trying to outwit the system, and the guy, whoever also knows the law will let you know that no, that is not the right thing. Go and come properly. We are discussing the issue of speaker over sanctioning, isn't it? Are we not talking about the law? Yeah. In one hand, you are talking of a speaker over sanctioning people, and on the other hand, you don't want to obey the other side of the law. He who comes with equity must come with clean hands. So let's be genuine in our...
How do we proceed on this matter then? Because you have vetted, is it these eight people? What then happens to them? Does that mean they will come to plenary? If the NPP walks out, you will go ahead and clear them? And
that's why they always tell you that the minority will have its say and the majority will have its way.
But does that work? Does that work for our democracy?
Yes, we didn't abuse Article 104.
I see.
We didn't abuse Article 104.
Kabiru, how do you see this playing out? Was this an illegality after all?
It was. And let me explain. Before I explain.
It was, huh?
Yeah, let me explain. First, he said the speaker. And if you go to Order 6 of our standing orders on interpretation, the speaker, Mr. Speaker includes the speaker, the deputy speaker, or the member presider. So it's not Bagbin. When we say the speaker committee, that's nothing to do with...
I mean, Bernard Ahiafo has been referred to as speaker or chair.
That is what I'm saying, that when he say that when every committee in Parliament is referred to the speaker committee, that does not refer to Mr. Bagbin.
Wow.
It refers, Mr. Speaker refers interpretation of our standing orders. The speaker, the deputy speaker, or the member presiding. Now,
in what context is the member presiding referred to as a speaker?
For instance, where we have the first deputy and second deputy out of jurisdiction, and then the speaker is not there, members can decide to say that one of you could sit on the chair.
But in that instance,
sometimes the clerk.
That person then plays the role of a speaker.
I agree. So that's what I'm saying, that when they say the speaker committee, at the committee level, the one presiding was who? Bernard Ahiafo. That's the first thing. So the committee, sitting of the committee is like a sitting of parliament. So the one presiding was Bernard Ahiafo. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you raise issue about the constitution of a committee, not quorum. The speaker didn't say that by the fact that we are removing deputy chief whips for both sides, chief whips for both sides, the committee will lose quorum. He says that the committee has to be reconstituted. So you cannot start. The composition of that committee, ab initio, is problematic. Before I even go to the issue of technical, because the composition article 217, or the 217 of our standing orders, makes provision of who are supposed to be members of the appointments committee. It makes provision for certain offices. The deputy ranking, the minority leader, the deputy minority leader, the chief whip, who is a member of this particular committee, was suspended. And the majority chief whip was also suspended. It means that an office that is supposed to be represented in the vetting, proper so-called, has been suspended. So it goes to the bottom of the constitution of that committee, not quorum. So if the speaker in his wisdom say that they have to meet immediately to reconstitute the committee, in the mind of the speaker, the constitution of that committee is not fully complete.
So, per where you said it was an illegality?
That's what I'm saying. It's an illegality, and what has happened there is a nullity, because you don't expect something done any act done out of an illegal process cannot stand. What we expect, the speaker can decide to glance over, and he meant the point that Ahiafo said that he needed communication from the speaker, right? It's true that he should have expected communication from the speaker, but someone drew the attention of the first deputy speaker and the chairman of the appointments committee to the fact that there has been a ruling by the speaker, a ruling that was during plenary. So therefore, we cannot continue this sitting. The majority leader, the leader of the House, also came to explain that yes, there have been that ruling, but Mr. Speaker says we should meet, as it were, to determine the next act of action. But this is, the minority leader said something important, and people are losing sight. He said, look, even if we cannot continue, I'm giving you 1 minute. Let's suspend for 1 minute. You will call Mr. Speaker. Let's suspend for 1 minute for you to call Mr. Speaker and find out what was your ruling. Let's clarify your ruling to me so that we can continue. The chairman refused. Just adjourn, just suspend sitting for 1 minute and call the speaker so that the speaker will confirm the nature of my ruling, whether it goes to the core of the constitution of the committee or it has something to do with quorum. Quorum, they have formed quorum.
As speaker, and I'm referring to Bernard Ahiafo as first deputy speaker, as chair of the committee and as speaker, he had the right to do that. He had the right to accept, to make that call, or to decide not to. No, hold for me. He had every right. He is speaker in that context. He is chair of the committee. You've already stated that. He had every right to decide, I will get back to the speaker or I will go ahead. Did he not?
No. So when go to Article 23 of the Constitution, the right to exercise discretion, the right to exercise discretion.
Just answer.
I'm answering the question. You have no right to decide when the issue is at the core of the law. When someone is raising substantive issue of law, you can't say that I'm the speaker, so therefore I have the right to ask. You have to rule on that particular substantive and make your justification why that rule, your interpretation.
I find that interesting because the speaker has many instances. This is even on this matter we are talking about where he has dispensed punishment.
That is why we are challenging it. That's what we are challenging it. I'm saying that you can exercise that right, but once you exercise and it is not right in law, people have the right to question. That's why we're questioning that ruling. Unless, of course, you are saying that he has that right and we don't have the right to say that that right was not exercised well, it was not exercised fairly.
My point is, you say he had no right. And I'm saying that on the face of what your standing orders say, he had a certain right. He has exercised it. You can exercise your counter rights.
And that is what we are basically, I'm saying that if a speaker violates a law, anyone can violate law and have justification for it. It is our duty to say that the exercise of that particular right is problematic. It is whimsical and capricious in the words of the former leaders.
So that is. I will not come in on this matter again. So for you, the way forward is what? They have the numbers. And if this goes to plenary, they will pass these 8 people, whether or not you are there. Is that to say you are not going to show up? You will walk out? And again, while I know as parliamentarians you don't want this, are you going to test these in court?
Well, so
because I've heard talk about.
Yeah, so I have heard, and when you look at the commentary on this your platform and several other platforms, every single objective Ghanaian thinks that the speaker actions was wrong. That's the first thing. I've not seen any independent person saying that the speaker was right. And even I remember on this platform, their former minister.
Are you sure?
On this platform.
I've heard a number of people say.
I can give you an example.
Independent person has said that.
I can give you countless list of people. Unless, of course, you categorize those people as not being independent. So that's one.
Okay. So I think that who has said he is right is not independent.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that unless, of course, you give me one example of a person, you think the person is independent, and the person said the speaker action was right, then I'll be very humble enough to accept what you are saying. That's the point I'm making.
Go ahead.
Now, we would engage. Our expectation is that he mentioned the fact that we should have done it as, Parliament, both minority and majority. I agree. And even in the press address by the minority leader, he stated that he had reached out to the majority leader. They equally think that what the Mr. Speaker had done was not proper.
No, I beg you.
Please.
Let him finish.
Please, let me. If he did not listen to the press, I was there. If you look at the visual, I was standing right behind the majority leader. That he had reached out to majority leader, they feel like, well, this thing shouldn't have gone the way that what the Mr. Speaker did was not proper, but they should engage more. He had tried to reach out Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker wasn't, it was difficult to reach out Mr. Speaker. So I agree with you that we should have had consensus on this and go on as a parliament. But if you find the minority or majority indulging in what the Speaker has done, basically you can't find faith in the fact that they will be willing to cooperate with the minority to others. So what we'll do is to engage the Speaker. We believe that today the leadership will engage with Mr. Speaker more to see the, okay, Mr. Speaker, you are from a committee. We are asking you to rescind your previous decision and let the members of the committee, members of Parliament carry out their exercise until the committee comes to a determination and the applicable sanctions can then be meted out to them. It's not the first time a member of Parliament has been suspended.
Right.
It's not the first time a member of Parliament has been suspended, but they were suspended on the back of investigation being done. If the Speaker does not listen, well, that's why the law court is there.
Okay.
We have to test it and see whether or not a Speaker has the right to so motu decide to suspend the member of Parliament for Wale if he thinks that he had a dream last night which did not, he found me on the wrong side of the dream.
Okay, Doug, hold for us. I'm curious to hear Mr. Kume's counter-argument on the legality of the Speaker's suspension of these 4 MPs.
Very good.
Yeah.
You see, this issue of long talk about these arguments, I keep saying that. You see, my brother started saying that the Speaker and so on and so forth. If you say the Speaker is Alvan Bagbin, the elected man. Mm-hmm. Any other, the first deputy and the second deputy, we call them Mr. Speaker. If you want to go to interpretation. You are using Mr. Speaker on them because they are not the main speaker.
Can I have a look at this?
However, whatever decision that Ahiafo takes, any committee that you go to work on behalf of Parliament, you bring your reports, and they are Mr. Speaker's reports. You lay anything in Parliament, it is for the Speaker. That thing must be clear, my brother. Look, Honorable Ahiafo was in charge as at that time, and he gave his ruling. When Honorable Habib raised the issue, he gave his ruling that, no, you could not stop us from carrying on with the vetting. And when I listened to Honorable Ahiafo yesterday on one of the media, was it TV3 or so, he did indicate that he called Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker said the meeting he wanted to schedule, he had to postpone it again because he was to travel. He left.
He was to see the wife off to the airport.
Very good. He was seeing somebody off. Very good.
Just to say that you're actually right. In terms of interpretation, Mr. Speaker, that includes the deputy speaker or a member presiding, but the speaker is the person elected in accordance with the article.
So let that thing be clear.
But of course, even in English, THE is definite.
Definite. You see.
Definite article.
So let's not go to that interpretation. So, and whatever Mr. Ahiafo did, he did it rightly because he said he had a call. He called Mr. Speaker that, he called the Speaker that what you said this, should we? He said, oh, you can continue because we can't meet immediately. And he continued to do his work. So if you come up and say...
The Speaker, the Right Honourable Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagby, gave Bernard Ahiafo, Mr. Speaker, in that instance, to go ahead.
I heard the first Deputy Speaker yesterday, I don't know whether it was TV3 or one of the media houses. I'm coming, my brother. Maybe you didn't watch it. You didn't watch it. In any case, whatever you want to raise, you have the right to raise it. The system, at the end of the day, will come out with the truth. You have the right to challenge. And like I said, nobody should think that there was an illegality. Honorable Ayarga, who is our majority leader, was part of that night vetting of the other 8 people we were talking of, which they are thinking that it was not rightly done. Honorable, and they announced their list one by one, and they accepted them as having been vetted.
Based on what Kabiru Mahama said, are you saying the absence of the minority chief whip, the majority chief whip, which also feeds into the standing orders, they don't have any effect on
no,
on
because,
the work of
because
the committee?
it didn't have any effect because at the end of the day, they are part of the 11-member committee. So out of the 11-member committee, if 4 are out, and the majority will still have 7, what is the problem? The 7 form a decisional quorum to do their work. That is it. It's either you accepting it.
217 make provision for the Kuma must be there. Kuma must be there.
You just give an interpretation.
And 2 other people.
Listen, you just give, your senior is 2 years in parliament. You have just come. So we have some of this argument. Don't worry. Some of this you will just give an interpretation of the speaker and I corrected you.
No, you've not. That one I'll come. You've not. No, you've not. I'm not. He said that every. No. He said that. No, let me make it forceful.
Kabiru.
No, let me make that point. It wasn't a correction. I'll come to that because he said that any report is the speaker report, and I'm saying that it is wrong.
Okay.
It is not the interpretation of our standing orders.
Right.
Any report is Mr. Speaker's report. That is the fact I established, not the speaker report. I'm not saying Mr. Speaker and the speaker are the same. That was the point I made. So don't say you corrected.
In the end, any committee sits, let's say the privileges committee, if they sit and the chair, together with the rest of the team, a decision or consensus is arrived at. Whose report is that when they present that to the plenary, when they present it?
It's Mr. Speaker's report.
The Speaker's
where Mr. Speaker is whom?
Where is the person presiding over the House at that particular moment? For instance,
become the Speaker.
It is not the Speaker, it's Mr. Speaker's report because it is the work of Parliament. And the work of Parliament, it may happen that the Speaker will not be the one sitting in plenary. So in that case,
played out many times since you've been in Parliament.
In that case, one point. Let me get
your point has been made.
That point. We have the speaker. We have the speaker interpreting this law. The speaker has been in Parliament. I'm coming. The speaker has been in Parliament for more than any one of us.
All right.
But that doesn't mean that he's been in Parliament for so long. His interpretation of the standing order is.
I made that point.
That's the point we need. That's the point we need to start.
You were infallible.
Let it be clear. You know, the word the speaker is not continuously used in the plenary. But that doesn't mean it is not the speaker. because we do say, Mr. Speaker, your committee report, are you getting me? The word commonly used, no, wait, I will tell you. The word commonly used there is, Mr. Speaker, your report, anytime we are laying a report and we are accepting it, anybody getting that will say, your report. But it's just that they don't use the term, the speaker, because the common word we use is Mr. Speaker, because when he's on the table, when he's sharing, we say Mr. Speaker. We don't say.
So you're telling me that in the event where
eventually the Mr. Speaker is still the speaker.
No. Mr. Speaker, the standing order give different interpretation of the speaker and Mr. Speaker.
Bernard Ahiafo is delivering some reports as head of this committee or chair of this committee. Of course, he is first deputy speaker. And if he's presenting it in Parliament, he will say, Mr. Speaker, your report, referring to Alban Bagbin. Is that what you're saying?
He will not say, he will not say, because he is the one, as at that time, holding forth for the speaker.
No, I'm saying in this instance.
He will say the committee's report.
In this instance, Alban Bagbin is in the seat, and Bernard is presenting the report. Yes. How would he couch it?
He will say the committee's report, he's laying the committee's report, and they will read it. And why doesn't, because when he moved the motion for the report to be laid, that is why the clerks, normally he will stand up, and then the clerk will now read it. Where does the clerk sit? In front of the speaker. Are you getting me? Any report we are laying, is the clerk who reads it.
So is it because I'm coming. Do you know what I find? Do you know what I find interesting in the midst of all of this? There are some subtle technicalities, and of course these are the new standing orders. So some of the old has been refined in the new. But what I find curious is the fact that whether for political reasons or otherwise, you are all making some logical reasoning, and yet you cannot seem to agree on anything.
No, we can agree.
Your ends are
let me tell you where I agree with you. Let me tell you where I agree with you.
Whether it is,
I agree with
your
you
standing orders.
No, it's not a standard. I agree with my senior that the speaker is one definite person. Who is the person of Mr. Sumana Alban Kisford Bagbin?
The speaker.
The speaker. That is right. But reports of committees are Mr. Speaker's reports. Report for Parliament are Mr. Speaker report. And I'm saying that when they say Mr. Speaker's report, they are not referring to the speaker. They are referring to the speaker, they are referring to the deputy speaker, they are referring to the member presiding. So that is the point of departure. So the point I argue, the reason why I raised the issue was that when they say that every report of committee reports to the speaker, that was where I disagree with him. But I agree with him that when you say the speaker, there's no other speaker than Mr. Kingsford Bagbin. But the committee's report is that of Mr. Speaker's report. This is the position I hold.
And those are ultimately the Speaker's reports.
Right.
That is what I want to say.
Let's wind down on this.
Ultimately, the Speaker's reports.
Let's wind down on this and move the conversation forward. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on whether or not we need a public hearing, right? That special committee, 7-member special committee that has been set up. Commentary from social media, especially X, because that's where I monitor, as to whether or not this is a political witch hunt. It's to be used as a forum to embarrass some of members of parliament, or if truly, because this happened in the public eye, everyone saw it, is the reason why we're going to have a public hearing. Yesterday, I listened to the chairman of the committee inviting the public even to voluntarily bring information, and they'll be going through some multimedia footages and so on and so forth. Doc, how do you feel about a public hearing? Is it simply a matter of it happening in the public? The public is very much involved, and so try or go through all your investigations in public, or a political witch hunt to embarrass some members of parliament?
I don't agree with the fact that it's a political witch hunt, much as I have my issues with the committee, much as I disagree with the way and approach of the speaker in respect of how this is going. If they decide on a public hearing, and I think that the Ghanaian people deserve the right to know actually what happened on Friday night.
Thursday?
I mean, usually I don't know whether it's Thursday night or Friday, because the night preceding Friday, whether it is Friday night, I think it should be Friday night. So Friday night, I don't know what happened to that might have caused this thing. And people want to know. My version, his version, your version may all well be different. Ghanaian people, the only way to know is when witnesses are called, the suspects are called, they give their testimony, they are cross-examined, and everyone would hear what transpired. So I don't think it's political witch hunt. And people thinking that we we should not descend to that arena. We need to preserve the dignity of Parliament. And once we are so much resolute in preserving the dignity of Parliament, whatever means, there will be some hearing that they may say that let's hear them in camera. And that may be allowed. They were even in Parliament, our proceedings sometimes, some of the matters, will hear them in camera. So I don't have issues, whatever, or difficulty, whatever, with that approach adopted by the chairperson of that committee's setup. And you know, the right committee would have been the Privileges and Immunity Committee, which has not been constituted. So that's what and the Speaker has the right to set up a committee. And that right, you cannot take it away from you. I mean, the setup of a committee is very legal, it's proper, and you cannot take away that particular right from the Speaker, wanting to know what had happened and the remedies we can use to avert subsequent occurrence.
Mr. Kumar, any concerns that this public hearing may deepen political rifts?
No, for me, it's okay. It is to unearth those other things that we are all suspecting. Somebody holding somebody's balls and maybe those things.
Why are you there? They denied this thing. Why are you not correcting?
Hey, my brother, when they were denying, I wasn't around. But that is on social media.
Social media is not your authority.
Are you getting me? I wasn't there. And the one who was the very honorable man, when we checked initially from even the audiovisuals here, when Honorable Afenyo Markin was there, that honorable man was the one in smoke there too. But later, when the struggle was happening, he wasn't seen anymore. Honorable Afenyo too wasn't seen anymore.
So maybe the person who supposedly was dealt this blow, so to speak, may have to seek medical testicular examination to find out whether
until the committee sits and we unravel all those things. Or maybe Honorable Dafia Makpa wants to be a gentleman, he doesn't want it to be known. That's also another thing. But in all, I know when the committee sits, the truth will come out and we'll move on. We are friends there. I don't know why when it comes to some of these things.
It's a wonder to our citizens. We are friends. The way you describe each other in public.
The way we knew ourselves before even Parliament.
Right.
So I can't imagine me giving him a blow or he giving me.
In fact, Bernard Ahiafo says he has a pretty good relationship with Afenyo Markin.
Yes. Yeah.
But then he goes on to jab and say that, but he thinks Afenyo has forgotten that he's no longer the majority leader.
You see, and even Ahiafo yesterday, when I monitored on that, he did indicate that he whispered to Afenyo that the last person they were to help, and he then, this thing blew up. Okay. That he whispered to him.
How can you whisper to him when he's a committee?
But don't they sit, you know, they are near one another. Once in a while, they speak into their ear.
Did you hear them do that? I see.
No, they do, but that doesn't constitute the committee's decision because it's not the committee is not just for and then.
Fair point, gentlemen. I have two concluding thoughts, and Sweetie will take it from there. There's also been this conversation. Inusaf Hussaini, together with us, discussed it yesterday. Some of these members of Parliament could very well be even expelled from Parliament.
Yeah.
The Speaker could bring it up, and I believe it's a 2/3 vote. You could educate me on your standing orders. You could expel people from Parliament. Yeah. Interestingly, your side has 2/3 in Parliament, and if push comes to shove, those actions could be brought to bear. Should we get to the point where in tackling indiscipline, we are talking about indiscipline in our schools and students beating other students with a machete, but it appears some members of Parliament are in a comfortable lead when it comes to indiscipline. What are your thoughts on these matters? Expulsion from Parliament, which would be extreme, but dealing with indiscipline on the House or in the House?
Yeah,
okay. So I want to start with you, Mr. Kumar, and then Kabiru.
All right. You know, I began this thing by saying that I am not for it at all. I'm still disappointed in whatever happened. I began by saying that the minority needed, if they were not comfortable, to just pack their standing orders and whatever and leave the scene. And the next morning, we could have had that decorum. The media would have listened to them. Ghanaians possibly would have clapped for their decision to have done that. Well, maybe that's their strategy, to call public attention, to get public sympathy for what they have done. He is right to have said they have the right to stand. You have the right to stand, you did. But what brought about lifting chairs and showcasing them on tables again? Those chairs, somebody could have seized them from the opposite side and used it on somebody's head. Because for all you know, somebody could misconstrue the lifting of the chair to mean you are bringing it, you want to maybe throw it. Anything could have happened. So it was just uncalled for. Whatever it is, I will plead that, Mr. Speaker, the Speaker, we shouldn't send the matter to that level. The moment an issue gets to the Privileges Committee, it is at the highest level. And the only, if not mercy, the end results will not be palatable.
Yeah, but with this level of indiscipline, it should go to the highest level, shouldn't it?
I'm sure if my seniors will be fast, maybe some apologies will go into the system. And that's what I'm expecting maybe the political leadership should rather be doing with Mr. Speaker or the Speaker. They shouldn't politicize it. If they come together, majority, minority, what we did was just not palatable. Ghanaians should forgive us. I'm sure that's the right way to go now.
Okay, so they should mollify the Speaker.
Kabiru. Yeah, so I think that the standing order, standing order 36, 1, sub-rule A, Roman number 2, states that a member, Parliament may expel the member from Parliament if it's found out that the person acted in contempt of Parliament or in breach of parliamentary privileges. But that cannot be read in isolation, in silo. Anyone reading it will have to read it in conjunction with Order 129, 130. Because the acts of the members, even though it's a breach of parliamentary privileges, it can be categorized under disorderly conduct. And that disorderly conduct, the rules specify the punishment for that. So I don't see why a speaker would agree that it is a breach of parliamentary privileges, would exact punishment far in excess of what the standing orders has provided. Because that's what I'm saying, the Order 36 will have to be read in conjunction with Order 129 and 130 to get the fact that if it is for the first offense, you have to punish the person for the period of, 4 sitting days. And if it's for the second time, you have to suspend the person for another 4. That makes it 8, and in that order. These are honorable members. These are their first, even if you found guilty, conduct of disorder. And I don't see why a speaker would go to the extent, or even the committee will go to the extent of recommending that those members should be expelled from Parliament. So it's a possibility.
Especially considering there are first-timers in there. Jerry Shaib and all these people, you know, Wei Jagbawe and all of that.
Yeah, so
it could be a very tricky situation.
No, so the first-timers, that even give the reason why they shouldn't go to that, because first-timer is assumed that you are not very much abreast. Let me give an example. Let me reprimand myself. No, let me reprimand myself. For instance, let's on my floor, I never got he even corrected me that once the mace, once the mace was there standing upright in front of the table, no member walks in front of it. And that is, you learn it by practice. Within the pyramid,
the circle, you know, the majority says this way, the minority says the other way. And the moment the mace is there, the symbol of authority for Parliament, you don't
walk in crossing it. If you want to go to the minority side, you have to pass through the chairs and go there. Right. Sitting was not in, they were calling sitting in order, and I walked.
okay, they drew my attention quickly. So I actually even took a bow before I walked past, but that wasn't even allowed. Once it's there,
you don't cross.
You don't cross.
All right.
Okay. Because I was first timer, they allowed it. But a second timer also did it the following day. Okay, it's still they allowed. I'm just giving an example to show that if you are new in the house, there may be certain things that they will have to temper justice with mercy. And Jerry Ahmed Shoaib is one example of a first timer that even if you want to exert punishment, you must be considerate of all these factors. And I think that at the end of the day, the committee will not go to that extent. It will be killing an ant with a sledgehammer. And I don't think the speaker wants to. The speaker will.
He's saying something. Is it possible for them? Charlie, I'm sorry.
That's all. No, look, it's not even. It is imperative that we apologize to the people of Ghana.
Okay.
It's not the speaker that we're apologizing to.
I have a final question for both of you. This is not the first time we are seeing these circumstances play out in Parliament, and international media has picked it up. For me as a Ghanaian, it's very embarrassing, just to say the least. And Ghana is not doing. In fact, we've seen so many other African countries where the parliamentarians are throwing and hauling chairs and tables at each other. What lessons can you draw from our incident? I remember that brawl over the election of the speaker. There was the e-levy debate and all that altercation that ensued. At this point, what lesson can we draw from everything that we see, and how quickly the shift happens from cool heads to tables overturning that we can keep with us as parliamentarians so that we don't see this again? I'll start with you, Mr. Kumar. Please do this in 1 minute.
The lessons we can draw is to, if we cast our minds back to when Parliament was even a hung Parliament, so close, then minority, the NDC side. I'm sure thumbs up for us. We never did anything of this sort because I remember the e-levy time, we walked out. When the speaker made a judgment, there was an issue. Then when he was outside, our senior Joe Wise came and turned, was it on budget approval? Joe Wise turned the ruling. We didn't lift chairs. That day we walked out. We walked out. So the minority now should learn from some of those things. You see, it's becoming like we are a very small minority, but we will hold you for Ghanaians to. You see, what is out there is that our NDC people are saying that we are not hot enough for them. We are making them to overpower us. But that is not the case. The speaker said something one day, that it is the duty of the speaker to protect the minority, no matter how small their number is. So they should be aware of that.
So the lesson is for them to be aware.
They should be aware.
What about you?
They should be aware that we are friends. If we want to move and then carry them out the chamber, it can happen.
Thank you, sir.
But we don't want to go there.
Doug, you have the final word.
So first and foremost, the lessons are that both sides should be tolerant.
So
that we can disagree, even with the strongest of words, but it should not degenerate to fisticuffs. That's the first lesson we must all learn. Two, we must all learn that the work of the minority would come at a great discomfort to the majority.
Just imagine.
At all times. At all times.
Just imagine.
That the work of the minority will come at a great discomfort to the majority. It's a lesson that we must all learn, either in power or out of power. That unavoidable lesson, we must learn it. The third lesson we must note is that this house is a house of rules. And that if you have any disagreement, lay down procedures and address it. If we imbibe these lessons, if we follow these lessons, I'm not sure there's going to be any problem with the work we do as members of parliament. And we must all equally learn that the people of Ghana expect us to go with the title honorable. And that, if they call you a honorable member, you must act honorably. And these lessons, once we go with them, I'm sure the house will be orderly. But most important lesson, the work of the minority will come at a great discomfort to the majority.
Thank you so much. Ben, we have a show.
Talk of constructive criticism.
So those who joined the conversation this morning, Dr. Tia Abdul Kabiru Mahama, he's Member of Parliament for Wale Wale. We also had Joseph Kwame Kuma, he is a legislator for Kintampo North. Both of them joined the conversation. Before we take a breather, your health is your wealth, you know that. Let me tell you about Medicas Hospital, a modern healthcare facility built with your recovery in mind. They have spacious wards built with your family in mind, a warm and caring pediatric unit built with your children in mind, and they also have assembled some of the brightest minds in medicine, led by Dr. Yao Safo, the drive-time doctor, to serve you. Now, here's what they have on offer. General medical services, as well as specialized or specialist services in plastic surgery, obstetrics and gynecology, child health, urology, psychiatry, that's mental health, and eye care. Additionally, they also offer a comprehensive medical diagnostics service. Now, it also encompasses endoscopy, medical laboratory services, x-rays, and scans, together with a 24-hour pharmacy, ensuring you'll always receive efficacious, safe, and affordable medicine. They also bring to you the most powerful medicine of all, simple human kindness and empathy, and they pride themselves on holding themselves to the highest attainable standards. They also accept all forms of payment, including from private health insurance companies. Locate Medicas Hospital at number 10 Kinto Street near the Ashale Boche School Junction. You can reach them on 0501 477 340. On social media at Medicas GH. Medicas Hospital, a place of healing.
Now, let me tell you about SolarMate Ghana. You want to select a solar system from our various solar packages, ranging from 30,000 Ghana cedis to 99,000 Ghana cedis. All our solar systems come with lithium-ion batteries. Get a solar water heater, a solar home system, a solar power station, or a solar generator ranging from 1,000 watts to 20,000 watts. We also sell reverse osmosis machines for water treatment. Google SolarMate Ghana to find us both on Facebook and on Instagram. Our contact 050-832-0470. SolarMate Ghana is located at Adringano, East Legon. SolarMate, we go everywhere. So much more action on your coming your way on the AM show. We'll be right back. We are back on your screens, and guess what's happening now? You get to have your say. Ben, did you enjoy that conversation?
I did, and like I said, it's interesting how they will always take different positions on things because they are on different sides. But it's time to hear from you. What do you make of our guests this morning, including from all the way from the news review? What are your thoughts on the discussions we've had? The Speaker's ruling or his decisions and the committee that has been set up. You can call that number 0302-211-691. 0302-211-691. Let's know where you're calling from, what you have to say, what your name is. So when you call, let us know your name, where you're calling from, and then you go ahead. But please, turn down the volume on your set, whatever set you're using, so we don't get interference.
Well, let me usher in the first caller, Mohammed from Ablekuma. Good morning, Mohammed. How are you? And share your thoughts.
I'm doing good, madam.
Great. What's on your mind, Mohammed?
Even though what happened at the Parliament House.
Mohammed, speak up.
Even though what happened at the Parliament House, we all do not support the action. Hello.
Mohammed, last try, we've lost Mohammed.
I think we lost him. He was saying something about Parliament. I'm not sure. But when you call, don't listen to us from the TV set. Turn the volume all the way down and speak to us directly on the phone, because otherwise we have that delay interfering with the flow of your thoughts. So do call us. The numbers are on your screen, 030-2211-691. You get to have your say live on the AM show, so call us and let's get interactive. And let me bring in Maxwell. Good morning, Maxwell. Where are you calling from?
Dabuase, Western region.
Great. Have your say.
I'm calling from Dabuase place.
Maxwell, turn down the volume on your TV set and have your say.
Yeah, okay. What I'm about to say is, really, I can see that the parliamentarians are just playing on our emotions. For us, we know that that's how some of the parliamentary activities are carried. But the violence is becoming too much. I think they need to give us an apology as a house. And I also believe that the speaker must hit the script. I believe so.
Thank you so much, Maxwell, for calling.
Well, you can still call through and share your thoughts. 0302-211-691. 0302-211-691. Do we have a caller on the line?
I don't think so.
Do we have a caller on the line? You could be the next caller. Pick up your phone, call us, but don't listen to us on your TV. We have a caller from Kumasi, Faustina, is it? Good morning, Faustina.
Yes, please. Yeah, good morning.
It's good to have a woman call today. What are your thoughts, please?
Yes, my thought is, honestly, Arsenio Markin must be spoken to. He should stop asking questions based on emotions. You know, we are all learning from whatever is happening there. But this vetting, I don't see it to be vetting. It's rather attacking somebody you've already targeted, that this person, if I get you, I'll deal with you. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's not wiser than anybody in Ghana. He's not the wisest person. He should stop doing that. It's like he's having the whole of, like a finance. You can't be a finance. At the end of the day, you lose. Because already you are a mindful. So you should accept that mindful and deal with it and still legate his phone with the most attacking people. You should ask questions which will benefit the Ghanaians rather than linking his own on those questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your thoughts. Thank you for calling, Faustina. She called from Kumasi. Let's see whether we can get more female representation in the call-in segments. 0302-211-691, sweetie.
Then, what I want to pick your thoughts on some. Ben, you've been saved by the bell. We have another call on the line. Good morning. What's your name?
Good morning, please. My name is Abdrazak.
Hi, Razak. Talk to us.
Yeah, please. I'm calling from Pokwasi.
Okay. What's on your mind?
In fact, the attitude of our honorable MPs is so sad. I can't understand why they keep on misbehaving this way. In any case, the case that just happened a few days ago, you do realize that the minority wanted to protest, and they were doing so at their own side. So what happened? Let's observe it carefully and judge it fairly as to how, if movement wasn't okay from the majority side and minority side, do we all just think that this chaotic will happen? So please, Ghanaians, let's judge issues fairly as well. But all of them, both minority and majority, to bow their head. Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling. I wanted to ask you, Ben, what role do you think we played in all of this as media? You know, I remember having a conversation with Samuel Bing from Parliamentary Network Africa, and he mentioned that parliamentarians do a lot of good work behind the scenes when the cameras are not turned on. So does it mean we only capture the bad parts?
Well, when parliamentary sessions are going on, our very own Kweku Asante is there. We cover, let's just put it this way, our lenses focus on the good, the bad, and the ugly. It just happens that Parliament in the last few years has had quite a bit of ugly, and we put the ugly out there. It doesn't mean we wish that, but if you do the ugly will sell you.
So it's not that we are only shining light on the ugly, we are reporting what we see. Let's talk to Adam now from Tamale. Adam, good morning.
Good morning.
What's on your mind?
Please, we are very, very disappointed in this, our honorable members. For the previous vetting we have been seeing, we've learned a lot from that vetting. But this committee we are seeing today, we are learning nothing from it, apart from attacking each personality. And besides, looking at the questions Honorable Afenyomarkin is asking, he doesn't ask the ministers the position they have given them, what they can do towards that ministerial post. It's rather attacking their personality, what they have set behind. So it doesn't help. So these are honorable members. We are very, very disappointed in what they are doing currently. We are not happy about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adam, calling us all the way from Tamale. You can also call. The numbers are on your screens. 030-2211-691. It's have your say segment, and so you want to call us and share your thoughts with us then.
And of course, that's the number on the screens at the bottom of your screen, 0302-211691. What do you make of all these happenings? How can we sanitize Parliament? We have Michael calling from Sunyani. Good morning, Michael.
I'm Mark calling from Sunyani.
No, Mark, my apologies.
Okay, oh, don't worry. It's a pleasure. I think our MPs need to set up. It's very disappointing seeing what they are doing. And again, MPP needs a new face in Parliament to represent them. I think they should let Afenyomarkin step down, bring Kojo Oppong to lead, because he's a fine gentleman. But they need to build consensus. Though NDC has the numbers, but yes, we need to see a formidable opposition in Parliament. And what would they say if they hear that the secondary school that has caused such violence? Will they be able to blame the school? Because they have no moral rights to do that, because they've done that in the full glare of the public. So I think both NDC and MPP, what happened is in bad taste, and they need to apologize to Ghanaians. That's my view. And again, looking at what happened, can they walk out if, in case they are provoked? Why should they stay in there and destroy public property? So for me, it's very disappointing. And they should get some new people to lead the minority. Afenyomarkin and Oberon Prayer is just a disaster. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mark, for sharing those thoughts. I believe you called from Sunyani. It's interesting because he is proposing that the minority leader be replaced with someone who is a fine gentleman and has a cool head, according to him, the Ofuase Eyerebi legislator, Kojo Oppong Nkrumah. That's an interesting one.
Well, I want to give you some update from the presidency communication. It says the Tripartite Committee commences wage negotiations. The National Tripartite Committee, represented by government, employers, and organized labor and associations, commenced negotiations on the determination of the 2025 medium wage yesterday. That's February 3rd, 2025. Negotiations for base pay, that is public sector salaries, will follow that of the minimum wage. And given that negotiation for both the minimum wage and the base pay for the 2025 financial year are behind schedule, as they are expected to be completed by the end of April 2024. Per the Public Financial Management Act, government is calling on social partners, that is government, employers, organized labor, to work expeditiously. Thanks, Ben, to complete the negotiations in time to inform the 2025 budget. So if you fall in that category, hold your horses. Negotiations have commenced. We do have another caller on the line. Good morning. What's your name?
My name is Mohammed, calling from Achimota.
Kindly speak up. Did you say?
Mohammed, calling from Achimota.
Great. Mohammed, go ahead. Share your thoughts with us.
In fact, this unfortunate development is worrying. And I think the blame should be laid squarely on the minority leader. He is too rabble-rousing. In fact, you are not in parliament as a warrior. You are in parliament to dialogue. But his attitude sends very bad signals, together with Arnold Ombre. They are just doing as if it's child's play, but it's dangerous. He spoke about gender and regional balance, and in the night, we woke up in the morning to hear about rioting in Bole and somewhere in Volta region for people not getting appointments. He's inciting animosity. It's not good. He should be told to tone down. Democracy is not about those kind of things. But that is my opinion about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. And I think we have just enough time for one more caller. Yeah. So you could be the last caller to speak to us live on the AM show. We have a few minutes before we wrap up. Benjamin.
Yes, you could be the lucky person, so to speak, to air your views this morning. It's the last call for a call on the AM show. 0302-211-691. What is your take? Is it Benjamin we have? Is it Ben on the line?
Yes, transmitted.
Oh, fitting for me to end with my own name. Ben, what are your thoughts?
The two parties are split. The majority and the minority are not doing well. They were there to cause commotion. So what they did was to destroy the people. The people have voted them there, but they should realize some people are looking up to us. So we should do the things that are right by solemnly and leave the properties there. But because of what they want to do to destroy the properties of the government, they stood there to cause that commotion. All Ghanaians are upset of what they did because the properties there are for the Ghanaians, and that is what they meant to spoil. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your thoughts, and that's how we're going to draw the curtains on those unsavory notes. Let me just put it, indiscipline in Parliament. Yeah, respectfully. We don't want to see some of those scenes, and it's high time members of Parliament learned to be more honorable and noble. And I know some people will not like the language I'm using, but respect is earned.
Well, don't forget to log on to myjoyonline.com for more news and stay updated. Thank you so much for spending 4 hours with us on the best breakfast show on the block. I'm Sweetie Abochi. We are back tomorrow, but for now, stay for Joy News Desk, and my co-anchor will take us away.
Well, that's how we sew it up. Joy News Desk is up next. We'll be right back.